I freaking hate that music, but also I don't feel like talking at the moment.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh, I cannot stand that music.
Rose, entertain us with Norm Eisen things.
Oh boy. Boy, he's getting it. Boy, oh, man,
It couldn't have happened to a nicer person.
He is just getting slammed today. And it's so great to watch. Just is.
And then
It
I go
just
and bring
is.
up his attorney-client privilege, like, whoopsie, I
Yeah.
touched that third rail today.
And a couple other people did too. No, that
So
that
do we
came up
have-
on a couple other posts, Jen.
So
for sure.
Who started the tweeting?
Elon.
Okay, so I need to go out there and
Elon replied to Norm Eisen himself.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
We need to go get
because
the thread.
Norm put out this really, everybody saw it, so I don't have to say, but
No, not everybody saw it. So tell us, please.
really, you didn't see it? That's what Elon was responding to. He, that he's, going to launch a bunch of lawsuits, at Elon and DOGE.
Elon said something like, "What are you hiding, Norm?"
Yeah, so Elon said, "What are you afraid of?" Yeah, what are you hiding, Norm? What's going on?
And then
Going to jail, Norm.
Maybe
like
Rico.
Like you're in jail, Norm.
And then DataRepublican jumped in with her information. I think Blue Canaries jumped in. Everybody started piling on.
Jeff Carlson, me.
Yep.
Yeah, but it was a lot of people. A lot of people are chiming in now, which is good. He needs to be outed as the rat that he is on a big scale, amongst us guys. Hey, puppy, are you coming to visit? Oh, hi there. Sorry, guys, I'm down in South Carolina.
No problem, Rose. We'll talk later. Adam, how are you today? Pixel, thank you for joining us. How are you guys?
I'm good. This is awesome. I get to hang out with the ensemble of you and Kim and Adam all at the same time.
I'm going to try to get Savvy in here too. See if
That would
Savvy can join.
That would be cool. I didn't know which was...
What am I, chopped liver?
Obviously, Rose is here. I see JackTron down there who did an excellent Norm Eisen thread yesterday that Elon, I think, reposted. So if Jack wants to come up and talk about his thread, see Club Maha down there. Hey guys, if you guys want to come up on stage, just let me know. Adding JP. Please retweet the space. Appreciate it. And we'll get going here in a few minutes.
In the meanwhile,
how are you, JP? Oh, go ahead.
In the meanwhile, can you feel it? Oh, Norm!
Didn't something creepy come out about
Jennifer and Kitties? Did you see my info that I shared amongst us earlier today?
I did not.
Yes.
I haven't been in there.
Big stuff.
I'm going to grab the tweets so that I can put them down in the chat and up in the nest, and then I will also grab that stuff, Rose.
Also, please like and repost the space, please. That way we could get some more people in here so we could bash on Norm.
Hi, Club Maha. How are you?
We're having a pretty great day, all told. How y'all doing?
Doing all right. Just want to come in here and talk about Norm Eisen and how he hides his nefarious actions behind attorney-client privilege. It's actually great.
Can you educate me a little bit on Norm Eisen? I don't know too much yet.
Yeah, who could do that? Jack, get up on stage.
Get up here, Jack.
Where's your
Yeah,
flag, Jack?
Jen, I think you should tell your version too.
Hello.
I'm trying to get this room shared out. Guys are making it impossible. No Rose, go. No Rose can tell us who Norm Eisen
Oh,
is.
okay. Norm Eisen is basically the lawfare king against Trump from the very beginning, and he's the election lawfare guy along with Mark Elias. He basically it belongs to or all of these .orgs that write policy papers and also do strategy docs on how to impeach Trump. He was part of the J6 legal team. He was part of the impeachment team. He was part of all the lawfare prior to elections, other than Elias trying to get him off the ballot. But all the other stuff, he wrote everything.
He's Michael Cohen's handler.
He's Michael Cohen's handler.
He had 17 impeachments drawn up before Trump even took office in 2016.
He talks like this. Really irritating, really evil guy, to be honest. And this whole authoritarian meme that has been going on now with him, it's so old. And
well, he also was part of the Maidan coup as well, wasn't he? Didn't he work with Michael McFalls and do the color revolution?
He's a color revolution expert. Yes.
Yeah.
How
so
to
he
overthrow
literally
a government.
wrote the book on color revolutions. So he actually went to Harvard with, was it Harvard with Obama? So he has been part of Obama's team since before Obama even took office. American Mission, jump in here. I think it's Kelly.
No, it's me.
Oh, incognito, Chris.
So, not to take away from his hideousness, Norm Eisen, but we did have another plane crash today in Toronto. Delta Airlines flight landed upside down. So, no word on casualties yet, but in one piece.
Did you say it landed upside down?
How the hell did it do that?
Wait, did it come in upside down and land on the top of the plane?
It landed on the top of the plane.
I'm putting it in chat now.
So.
Yay, Savvy's here.
Hey, y'all. What's going on?
Hey, my little sister's here.
That's right, Pixel.
Well, everybody was in here and Savvy wasn't, so I said I was going to invite you. But we are bringing up the fact of Norm Eisen hiding all of his nefarious shit behind attorney-client privilege because he is the counsel or general counsel for all of the NGOs that are going against Donald Trump. So when you're the counsel for all the different NGOs, you're able to hide all your shit behind attorney-client privilege. And because they set the bar when they decided to go after Michael Cohen's attorney-client privilege, I think we need to repay that favor and actually see what's going on behind the attorney-client privilege.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That guy needs to be brought down hard.
Well, I think we should use all of the precedent that he set in going after President Trump and turn it back on him.
Here's the thing, though. Who would do that? Do you see what I mean? Like, I know, and maybe you have to catch me up because I'm in work brain right now because I chose to work today for so many reasons. But who would take on a case like that? Because right now they've got endless amount of income, right? So what does that look like?
So JP, I think, would be a huge part of that conversation. But in my normal, regular American brain, right, if the attorney is plotting a color revolution against the United States and the sitting president, doesn't that kind of like, negate the laws around like
I would agree with
being
that.
a lawyer?
I would agree with that. But here's the thing. How is that going to be proven? Do you see what I mean? So again, this is like, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I want nothing more than every one of those NGOs to be burned to the effing ground, along with the attorneys that represent them.
You treat it like a RICO case.
Okay,
completely.
so there's Rose. There you go. Because it's very much like trying to prove treason, right? Now, our opinion of someone who is treasonous and has committed, treasonous acts to us, we can prove it. To the other side, they're doing what's right and what they believe by the Constitution and vice versa, right? So like a RICO case, like Rose just came out, I think that's a brilliant idea.
JP, consigliere, what do we got here?
Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, attorney-client privilege is a very, very important thing for lawyers to have with clients, but the law around what can make it be set aside, the reasons why it can be pierced, as you would call it, you would be piercing the privilege, are pretty clear actually. And I like where you guys just went with it. One of the main areas to pierce the corporate veil is when there's a crime fraud exception. There's pretty much like 6 or 7 big reasons to do it. Crime fraud is one of them. So you can't have attorneys committing crime or fraud with clients or helping them or advising them on how to do it and still be able to keep their privileged status. So one of the ways I'm looking at this right now, I look at DOGE as one of the most genius strategies by a president ever in history. DOGE is created lawfully to audit the government in the name of government efficiency, but in the process, it's getting the double whammy benefit of gathering the largest amount of evidence of fraud, crime, waste, nepotism, you name it, in our country's history. So I think that what we're doing is we're building cases, we're building case files with a huge amount of evidence that's going to reveal all kinds of fraud and criminal activity. And then what the administration has to do is turn that over to the Department of Justice for investigation. And in their investigations, they can subpoena lawyers involved with the relevant parties. And then motions, obviously, then the defendant would say, no, our lawyer doesn't have to say anything, privilege. Then it goes before a judge, and a judge can decide whether or not that the veil can be pierced. So I think that's the clearest route to it. Other than that, courts have found that the veil can be pierced for just that there's no other way to obtain the information. Sometimes the judges have decided that it's such a public interest issue and in the name of justice that the privilege has to be waived. So I see multiple angles of attack here on Norm Eisen. I think he has orchestrated frauds in the form of investigations, warrants, impeachments, wiretaps, funneling money to fake NGOs for reasons that are not accurately stated. NGOs that were getting money to do one thing, but were really using the money to do another thing. Where were those NGOs funneling the money? So I think that this is completely on the table, and I know that Mr. Eisen knows it.
Thanks, JP. Appreciate that. So if there is a way we could do it, we just need to find an attorney that has a set of balls, right?
No, I think this would be for the Department of Justice to handle.
So Pam Bondi.
Yeah, so Pam Bondi.
Yeah, it would have to absolutely. The RICO case has to come from. That's why they're starting to look at the SEC's Securities Exchange Commission, because the money, what they want is an investigation. It's almost like how they got Al Capone, right? I mean, they're basically. I have a feeling they're all. There's a massive RICO case regarding the influence of elections, foreign interference of elections. or conspiring to steal an election.
Yep.
Or conspiring to impeach a president with false information, which is
or in prison,
yeah.
Preemptively.
And more recent topics that was coming up, like about this thing with the gold, about the 8,000 bricks of gold that were transported overseas from the Fort Knox. So there's like a lot of things going on right now, and I don't think, when I see like these people get up here and they say no king in America, and they're protesting, I don't really find that to be an authentic voice. I feel like that's more propaganda. I feel like this is this Soros type riots where they're trying to promote a narrative that doesn't really align with reality and what's actually going on and what's happening. And they're just trying to get people like these lower vibrational energies to come in here so that people can sit here and say, oh my God, they're trying to put a king. No one really with two brain cells that can rub together and spark a little bit of electricity thinks that we're trying to plant a king in the United States of America. That's not what's happening. We're exposing corruption, and anyone with 2 cents kind of sees where this is going. So the whole, people calling for an assassination or people calling for riots, like these aren't authentic voices. Like I can't see them truly, and maybe they are. Maybe they're crazy enough that they're authentic in their own minds. But I just can't see that as anything other than a propaganda to try to bring about the thing that they're pretending to be.
Well, they've been doing that for way too long. And also, even just the 60 Minutes hit piece last night on two vectors, right? The free speech and then the USAID. I mean, that was, I don't know, a hurry, rush, put it together, grabbing for, I don't know exactly how quickly they put that together, but that was the narrative push right there. And then all these protests, they're actually really starting to fall apart because the money is drying up. They can't, and I have a feeling too behind the scenes, they may be pulling the plug on the networks because the investigation is officially now going on at the universities, the 5 or 6 major universities that basically are the ones that kind of organize at the structural level to get all these protests going.
For sure. Hey, JackTron, how are you? You had that post go pretty viral yesterday. Elon even commented on it. Do you want to just kind of like give us like, I don't know, a couple minutes on what you found with Norm Eisen and what you think is important?
Well, Norm is the guy who is behind all the Trump lawfare. He was the former ambassador to DataRepublican under Obama. And he's really an expert in color revolutions and runs all sorts of NGOs to further his lawfare actions. So I'll post the, I guess, can I post the thread in the top?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So he went to Harvard Law School where he met Barack Obama, graduated in 1991. And at that time, he was also serving as the assistant director for the Anti-Defamation League and research assistant to his teacher, Alan Dershowitz. He was a co-founder of the Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, a so-called watchdog group that claims to fight corruption, but it really just it's just a group to go after Republicans. They don't go after Democrats. And during the Obama administration, he was also, he was hilariously called named the Ethics Czar. But he was really, it was just another partisan effort to attack Republicans. And his mission when he was in the Czech Republic, his job was to promote quote anti-corruption reforms that just happened to target populist and conservative leaders. So he was in charge of funding regime changes. He's written a book on this. It's called The Democracy Playbook. If you in the thread I posted up at the top, you can find the link to it. It's in there. And a lot of the things he mentions are very similar to the work of Gene Sharp, who is the godfather of color revolutions. His work was very instrumental even until his death in 2018.
Heck yeah. Wait, are you still gonna go through it, Jack, or did you get a phone call? Maybe Jack got a phone call.
Oh no, I wasn't sure what else to add on top of that.
Oh, okay. No worries. We could just have a discussion, guys. We don't need to use hands as long as people aren't speaking over each other. So
I can chime in here on what I discovered last night, or started deep diving on it, because there's like probably 5,000 democracy.orgs, right? So defend democracy, achieve democracy, whatever, democracy now. But I had come across Protect Democracy a while back, and I, just put it in my folder, but I didn't really do a deep dive until
They were the ones that showed up in Georgia at all the polling locations on voting day.
That's right. Yep. So here's what I found. Protect Democracy was created in 2016 and was started by a lot of Obama's White House counsel. And they then, through this org, started Protect Democracy Project that kind of aligned with what we saw with Eisen. And they started structurally putting things together. Now, keep in mind, here's the important part here. Listed there, I have a feeling that Norm Eisen is like their front man, right? They create all the strategies, and if you go on Wikipedia, which I did, and if you look at their projects, it's all of the most horrendous lawfare that's happened over the elections and the impeachments, personal lawfare against Giuliani, personal lawfare against Project Veritas, a lot of things involving Pennsylvania. There all the intricacies that go along with setting up something that they wanted to protect, right? So they shut up people, they, target people. Pretty much everything we've seen Eisen do, right? And some other things. But what I didn't know was this, is that they launched Vote Shield. And Vote Shield gave them access with the secretaries of states to all the voter rolls and voter registration on a very, very back end. We're talking, they had it all to the ERIC system. Not good. And they were completely involved in Georgia, and Pennsylvania and Arizona. Now, that Vote Shield system also has an AI component to it called Flare. Now, all of this was developed by a gentleman who, I have it in my notes, and I should probably go get it. He's out of Harvard and their technical program, right? So they developed this Flare and Shield program. This is all out of, now keep in mind, Protect Democracy, right? These are all Obama's guys. Then they needed to tie it in with all the get out the vote and registrations. So they created Voting Works. And I had brought that up. Remember? Like ages ago.
I remember that. I remember that.
Screaming about Voting Works. Yep. And digital voting, meaning remote voting. That's enhanced voting.
Is this also like affiliated with that ballot scout thing, Rose?
Yes, that's Democracy Works. The same guy. It's all the same guy developed all of it, and under this Obama-oriented org. And they have been slowly rolling out this election software across states. That includes Arlo, which is the auditing software, right? That includes machines.
Yep, Dominion, which I will add, Governor Kemp just allocated $5 million for Dominion machine updates. A lot of people don't understand that within the state of Georgia. He has no what's the word I'm looking for? He has no intention of getting rid of Dominion. In fact, he funnels more and more money into it.
Okay, now here's another really important factor. Protect Democracy led the legal battle against the governor to not allow the audits. Or it's like they basically blackmailed them, or they had them, then again, Schellenberger and the governor basically brought all of this infrastructure into it, along with many other states for the 2020. They made sure to get into the swing states, right? And they also were challenging the USPS person because they wanted to put in this vote tracking ballot tracker. It was all built for the mail-in ballot push. So then they had all the voter rolls and the registrations and the drives to fill all the registrations to get these dead names, right? But what's crazy is it also had the ability to, through the AI program, monitor, like, they would be able to find the addresses, right, of multiple address. They would, they're bragging about, like, oh, how much they've done to limit, infiltration, but really they had the ability to drive ballots to certain addresses on it. I mean, that's how much power they had. But here, in this article that I was looking at, in the birth of all this, is that they were using, Russia, right? Oh, well, we don't want that, we're getting infiltrations, except they're the ones that actually put everything. Now, that's why you will never see those ballots, because they printed them, right? With their printing
So wait a minute, was
partners.
Norm Eisen involved in this?
Yeah. Well, he's under Protect Democracy. He has to be, because everything lines up with all the suits.
Were they connected to the Forward movement?
Update me on that. What's that?
Okay, so this is something that's interesting that you're talking about this, because I see a lot of correlation to things that we were dealing with in the Kennedy campaign when we were getting a lot of pushback in lawfare. There was a PAC called the Forward PAC, whose spokesperson was Andrew Yang, and what their goal was to start a Forward PAC in each state, and that they would go to these universities that you're talking about, and they would begin facilitating a sort of centric political view, right, to try to get people that didn't want to vote Republican or Democrat to financially support by signing up for subscription services and donating money to the Forward PAC. And what the Forward PAC ended up doing with that money is to begin running smear campaigns and paying social media influencers to talk bad about Kennedy, to talk bad about Trump. And they began funding the lawfare that kept Kennedy from being on certain swing states. Like, they started the one that was up in New York, and they started the one that was also down in Georgia. Now, ultimately, that was the cataclysmic effect that caused Kennedy to endorse Donald Trump. So, irony there, like divine irony, that the weapons that they used against us was the weapons that actually ended up destroying their entire campaign. But I just find it interesting that all the same things that you're talking about and the correlations, I did investigation on this with Andrew Yang and found that, like, these entities is what they're using to garner funding from. And they were using it under the means to frauding the public and making them think that they were funding a third-party institution for independent candidates, but the money only ever went to Democrats. Is just something I thought I'd throw into this mix. I didn't know if it was related to the two, because it seemed like it was using the exact same strategy.
Well, I bet you if we looked into it, Norm Eisen probably definitely has a part in it, because what we see is he will literally become the legal counsel or the general counsel for a lot of these NGOs, right? So he's able to know where the law is. And in a lot of cases, so after the case in Miami, the documents case, right? Norm Eisen went on the news on CNN and he's like, I know for a fact that Donald Trump is going to go to jail over this. I know he's going to be tried and found guilty because I'm the one who wrote the law, right? So not only is he legal counsel, he went around and lobbied way back in the day and wrote a lot of these laws that they are using now in order to go after Donald Trump. Right, so not he knows where to argue them to. He knows what he can send them out to do color revolutionary wise, where he can either argue them back, right, or the case will get thrown out on appeal, right, or thrown out in a mistrial because he knows where, like, for lack of a better term, the bodies are buried, right, and this is why he's so dangerous.
Okay. You know, another angle of attack on Norm Eisen and its settled law is that post 9/11, a lot of I don't know, people that were being investigated by the FBI and the federal government for terrorism reasons, the court held that for national security purposes, the attorney-client privilege can be waived. So. I mean, I would argue that a lot of these NGOs that Norm Eisen represents have been and continue to be a national security threat. Just the issue of them importing 20 million or more illegal immigrants into the country is a national security threat. The president's executive orders already make it clear that illegal immigration is a national security issue. And if they continue to work contrary to the president's executive orders in a way that could damage national security, then, the attorney-client privilege as it relates to those NGOs and their activities and plans is subject to being waived for that reason as well.
JP, was that JP just talking?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, dude. That's the thing is, like, these people in the establishment, push this Patriot Act to violate U.S. citizens' constitutional rights and, their papers and, personal effects, privacy in that regard. And now it's come full circle to come and bite them in the tuchus, just to be honest, it's what do you call it? It's a sweet symphony, let's just say.
As I would like to quote Kendrick Lamar. Poetic justice.
Yes, thank you. That's what I was looking for. Poetic justice. Thank you, Jen.
What's really brutal about it with the DataRepublican search tool is it has that mapping mechanism. So they can look at, you can see the flow of money through all of these networks of organizations and funds, which, I talked about. But that's what they're terrified of, because the jig is up, right? And then you factor in the USAID funds, which I have a sneaking suspicion that some of that Middle East money, especially Qatar, was actually USAID money being pushed back into these organizations and universities to disrupt.
Well, and we're also missing all of the Brookings Institute stuff, right? Where he worked with Rosa Brooks to do the Transition Integrity Project, which really had an effect, right? So all of his work with people like Rosa Brooks, who you don't know who that is, you should look that up, right? And George Soros, right? He is like the middleman. He is like I don't even know how to describe him. Like,
he's the hatchet man. He's the,
like the Ray Donovan,
I said, he's the front person.
Well, I guess Ray Donovan's evil, but like Ray Donovan, right? Like, he's the fixer.
That's right. He's the fixer. And Bill Kristol kind of feeds into his fixing, right? Because he's, he works on the backside with the anti-Trumpers and gets funded by the exact same people, exact same circles. And they do influence campaigns.
I mean, I would take it a step further. I view Norm Eisen as the on the street attorney doing the bidding of Barack Obama. I think any roads that lead to Norm Eisen necessarily lead to Barack Obama. They were law school. I think they might have been law school roommates. If not, they were friends in Harvard Law. They've stuck together through thick and thin. Some people have surmised that their relationship was more than friends, dating back to Harvard. I'll just throw that little chestnut out there. But Norm Eisen,
Somalian butt piracy.
Norm Eisen is the consigliere for Barack Obama. That's what he is. He's doing Barack Obama's bidding. So keep that in mind. Everything that leads to Norm Eisen leads to Barack Obama.
But if you look at those Protect Democracy attorneys, they're working hand in hand with Norm.
No, but
as
he's the head
consigliere.
bitch in charge. Right? He's the
I
head
don't think
bitch 100% because he's the go-between with Barack Obama. JP's right. You can actually see it. Right? Like he's the one who starts the groups of the lawyers, right? He was the one running Joseph Sellers out there, having Joseph Sellers do his fucking bidding, right? Like, I don't think like.
I love it when you get fired up, Jen.
It just pisses like, is it?
No, you're right, Jen. I'm wrong.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong, Rose, right? But like also I don't think we give Norm Eisen enough credit, right, for his like diabolical evil, I guess.
Absolutely. I agree that these people are truly diabolically evil, but I don't think it's a monarchy structure. I don't think we trace it back to a single entity and say this is the head of the snake, because they operate in a council globally.
It's an oligarchy.
Like the same type of actor that we see that was created out of Barack Obama. We see that same type of actor created in Emmanuel Macron in France, or in Kamala Harris when she tried to run. So we see these fictitious narratives that rise up around these characters, so that, and when we get to really dive into their past, nothing lines up, nothing makes sense. So I get that there is a strategist involved with this, but I can't. It would baffle me, and you know what? If it is one single person that did all this, it would blow my mind. But I feel like this is more of a council of entities. Sorry, you might hear my daughter right now. She doesn't like it when I'm talking to anyone else but her. So.
Yep. But when we say Barack Obama, right, we're not saying like it's tracing back to a single entity, right? You are right. It's a council, right? They're moving parts, but I think that the members of that council, right, are in charge of specific aspects. And Norm Eisen, right, because there is an interview that Norm Eisen, Trash has it, where he sits down on the Mea Culpa podcast with Michael Cohen. Right. And this is after like the Miami stuff. This is after the mugshot. And he sits there and he's like, Michael, I really have to thank you. Right. And he's like, well, yeah, he's like, you're the first person in the entire world who told me that Donald Trump was going to become a tyrant and that I had to come up with this lawfare system in order to stop Donald Trump. He says that on the Mea Culpa podcast, right? And then when you start looking at it like that, look at Michael Cohen, right? Go dig into Michael Cohen. The law company, the whatever it's called, the law place, right? That he worked before he went to work for Trump Tower, right? Was started by the financier of the DNC. Right? Michael Cohen was always a Democrat. Michael Cohen was always a plant because they knew damn well that Donald Trump was going to become president and that was his worst freaking nightmare. right? They have been trying to set up Donald Trump for decades. And when they realized he won, now they had their boy Michael Cohen in there where they know they could pierce the attorney-client privilege. They could do all of this illegal shit. And because Michael Cohen was Donald Trump's lawyer, well, it's kind of hard to question him in a normal circumstance, right? Like lawyers were kind of like, you don't mess with lawyers. But now, I mean, JP, is that correct? Or like, what do you think?
What, I don't understand your question. Just try to phrase it a little differently. What are you asking me?
So if they had Michael Cohen the whole time, right? Michael Cohen was always a Democrat plant in my eyes, right? In a normal world, previous to all of this, it's usually very hard to go after someone's lawyer, isn't it?
Absolutely, unless we talk to the things that we talked about before. If the lawyer is part of the criminality or fraudulent intent.
And if his job all along was to go in there and give off the appearance of either criminality or set up his own side deals, which we know he was doing, right, in order to do criminal acts that could potentially come back on Trump. I don't know, like setting up payments to a stripper, right? Like, wouldn't that make sense?
Well, but you'd have to prove it. You'd have to have some evidence of that. So you're talking about the intent of Michael Cohen, and if the intent was to just commit crime and fraud because he could, and because he had the power to do it as Trump's attorney, then that's just on him. If he was doing it as part of a broader conspiracy to undermine Trump, that's where you bring in the third parties who were involved in that scheme. So but you have to prove that nexus, at least some connection, communication, etc.
I think we could do it. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being optimistic. Everybody's so quiet, guys. I didn't even really want to host, but I'm doing my good job of hosting. So help me out here.
But I think there are really good threads to pull together a RICO case on some of the elements for sure. Just in terms of things that were put in place by the these orgs that are associated with him and the attorneys that instigated fraudulent behavior and disruptive interference of elections or campaign staff.
I wonder if Rudy's working on this in the background because, he is such an expert on the whole RICO thing. I wonder if he's pulling some threads.
Well, they're the ones that actually went after Rudy.
I know.
Protect democracy. So it's truly frightening when you look at it as a whole.
I think the best avenue to go after Norm Eisen for criminal intent, fraudulent intent, pierces attorney-client privilege, is his role in the attempts to impeach Donald Trump, where he has a direct known involvement, and if you can show that efforts taken in that pursuit involved direct fraudulent behavior, presenting evidence to the courts that he knew to be false, was obtained in a criminal matter, I think that's the best and most efficient way to go after him. Connections to Michael Cohen, that would be difficult, I think. But, he participated. Norm Eisen is one of the lead brains behind, the Russiagate, PP-gate, first impeachment. His hands are all over that. And I think that Donald Trump, during his term here, is going to have things investigated and looked at. Kash Patel, once he gets into the FBI, God willing, tomorrow, is going to reveal a lot of stuff that the FBI did when they were putting together these cases against Donald Trump. And I think you're going to see it's kind of a slow cook, guys, to put together a case, to have the relevant evidence necessary to file motions to secure warrants. Takes a bit of work. You got to put this together, and it's not done in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or even 3 or 6 months. We might be putting together these cases for the next year, and then we're going to see some action on them.
Chris,
Speaking of action, it would be nice if there was like some communication that came out to where the progress on these things are. Now, I know like that's like counterintuitive to the whole notion of prosecuting these people, is like you don't want to like give them an alarm that we're coming after them. But I think like as indictments are ready, I think like I would really like to see Pam Bondi utilize her social media accounts to like push this information out so that we can disseminate, exactly what they're doing, and like at least read the indictments to know like what we're getting into, rather than just waiting for like 6-8 months down the road, like what's happening. Because I think that a side effect of what's happening here is we're seeing all these crimes come out. We're seeing all of these cases of corruption come out, but we're not seeing any reaction to them to the point that the American people get satisfied. And I see a lot of people getting mad about this. They're getting angry. Like, why aren't we prosecuting people? Why aren't we making arrests? Why aren't we putting out indictments? Why aren't we at least announcing that there's an investigation going on right now into these things, rather than just saying, oh, we found a crime. Well, what are you doing about it? So I would like to see more communication, at least from the administration, in that regard. I think that they could kind of button it up there.
But I think they can't do it because Cash isn't in there yet. He needs the FBI.
You don't want the frogs jumping out of the pot before the water boils.
Yeah, and I get how my statement can be counterintuitive. I hope that there's a way that they can button that up, the way that we can be more informed as the process continues forward. And they probably already have a methodology already in place that we just don't know about.
For sure. Thanks, Yankee. Chris, jump in here.
Well, I think you can see who they're.
Hold on, Rose.
God damn. Yay. Can't get a word in edgewise every time I try to open my mouth.
You got the darn flag. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Tweet the space, people.
You put my damn hand up. You want me to be a co-host?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll put you as co-host.
All right. So, yeah, I'm very interested in this national security thing, and I think that this guy is gotten over his skis, and that he's been privy to information that he shouldn't have had. And, to JP's point, this impeachment angle plays right into that, because it's not an impeachment of a president that you're looking at here. What you're looking at here is the overthrow of a duly elected president of the United States, rather than a congressional action that is organic. You're looking at an attack from a citizen, which is insurrection. In no uncertain terms, and I think that this guy has played fast and loose on the edge for so long, and I for one am really pissed off about these courts looking at the two words national security and bending over like P. Diddy just had 10,000 gallons of lube delivered, because it's ridiculous. You just cannot utter those two words and expect everything to go away. You can't utter those two words and expect people not to have some reasonable expectation that you're going to explain really, really well why this is a matter of national security. And you shouldn't have to disclose any information that is classified in order for you to be able to do that, because it should only be done on a principle basis, and we're not seeing that. We haven't seen it for a long time, and they've abused the F out of the FISA court. They've abused national security clearances that have come to them in ways that they were never supposed to be used. So, I believe JP is exactly right on the impeachment angle, but I think it's also a matter of national security from the standpoint that he sought out to overthrow the government of the United States. And he needs to be prosecuted for that and put away for a long time.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you. And you're absolutely right. Did anyone notice during when he was speaking that everybody got kicked out of the space?
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else noticed that.
Also, when you look at the space, it says not available or something along that line. My mic kept on getting unmuted just a second ago.
I quit.
Right.
Well, we definitely know that Norm has back doors to all kinds of stuff, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if that little twerp had some.
Yeah, Norm likes the back door.
He needs
got
that
30.
Diddy lube.
We've also got 35 anonymous listeners. So hello to the left that's listening.
Freaking pussy bitches.
Didn't he follow you, Jen, at one point?
Yeah, Norm Eisen follows me.
Yeah.
Hey, Norm.
We know you're listening, Norm. You're going to pay for what you did, Norm.
Well, actually, so Kim, Sapphire Mama just put a bunch of Norm Eisen's videos down in the bubble. Is there any way you could place them? Because I think it's like easier for him to just explain himself, since he is such a media whore and can't help but get on the media and explain to us what he's exactly doing. So,
yeah. I'll go grab those real quick.
Thank you. Jess, I saw you joined us. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Just here to support you guys. That's all. Figured I'd just pop in, say hello. I've been busy most of the day.
Awesome. Well, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the support. Yeah, we're just having kind of a space about Norm Eisen. If you have information about him, yesterday JackTron did an amazing thread, which is up in the nest. And I also put out one today talking about Norm Eisen and his attorney-client privilege. Rose has done amazing work on Norm Eisen, Canary Blue. Sorry, I'm still sick. A whole bunch of others, guys. So make sure to retweet those. And yeah, we'll continue to go over it. If you want to come up on stage, just request and we'll bring you up. It's kind of just like a chill space, but Norm Eisen was in the media, so I couldn't help but open a space, since like I've said Norm Eisen's name way too many times over the past 4 years. So thanks, guys. Okay. Kim, you got those videos? Might just like break things up a little bit. I don't know. I'm also at like a information saturation with Norm Eisen. Like I feel like I've gone over this information so many times that I'm just like sick of it now.
I did.
Jen, how many spaces have we done on that involved him in one of his programs? I mean,
all of
the
them?
amount of
okay, all of them. And then I had like the spaces where it was just me being like, hey guys, Norm Eisen. Hey guys, yeah, those people are great, but like Norm Eisen, guys, please, someone look up Norm Eisen. And then someone finally did, and it was great. It was a great day.
Oh, there's the clip.
You were validated, Jen.
Yeah, definitely. There's the clip in here of the Autocracy in America conference that he did last summer, which was a real gem. So I'm going to play that one first.
I brought Cyber Patriot in if you want me to play audio through.
Oh, that would be awesome.
All right, let me put in the request to bring him up to stage, or myself up to stage. I got a split personality with a cyborg. So does JackTron, but it's okay. I love that PFP, dude.
And if there's anybody that's been doing work on Norm Eisen or anything like that, tag them to come into the space. Like, we need to pool our resources and go after these people.
Yeah, we should. Anybody have a DM for the researcher? The researcher's done. I think, just reposted everything.
Yeah, that's what we're playing the clips out of, is her thread. So yes, that would be.
Oh,
amazing.
awesome, perfect.
All right, we'll start with the mea culpa. Does that sound good? With Michael Cohen.
So do the first video, and then the second video is that Autocracy in America conference.
I'm going through them. The first one she posted 5 minutes ago from the researcher. It says mea culpa in the bottom left corner. Is that the one? Midas touch. Is that what you're talking about?
She has like this monster master thread with everything in it.
Yeah, so
okay, so just click on the thread.
Sapphire, yeah. So Sapphire put it in there. So I would follow the thread.
Okay, let's just run through that thread. I gotcha. Well, that's the first one that comes up, is a mea culpa. So I'll play that, and then we'll go on to the next video. Let's go ahead and do an audio test real quick, and hopefully it comes through.
The reason that I went in, dumped my TV and other gigs, and worked around the clock for a year on the impeachment. I think we have to model a different kind of model of public service. The reason that I went in, dumped my TV and other gigs, and worked around the clock for a year on the impeachment. I think we have to model a different kind of model of public service.
So that was a 21-second video. I figured I'd let it play twice, so it sinks in. Let me get the next one lined up.
By the way, that's Norm Eisen's real voice. That is not us just being mean.
I'm telling you, I think he's in the intro of Alex Jones when he's like, Alex Jones, blah, blah, blah. It sounds just like Norm Eisen.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if Alex Jones is like doing a troll because it says something about him being brilliant or some shit like that.
Let's see.
Or dangerous. That's what it is. It says something about him being dangerous. And I think he clipped that freaking soundbite and put it in his intro to InfoWars.
I would. Good for Alex.
All right. The second clip says Norm Eisen needs to be made an example of so that the new model does not take hold and further destroy our Constitution and rule of law. Trump lawfare.
What thread are you in, Adam? I have still not found you.
I'm on the researcher's thread. The one that you said...
Okay, I don't know if people are getting kicked out of this space or if someone else needs to host, but like I'm getting messages that the space is showing up, not being able to be found, and everyone keeps getting kicked out. So I don't know what's happening.
Start fresh? I don't know. Now everybody jump back in. Up to you.
I don't know. It's just annoying. Honestly, this is why I also haven't been hosting spaces, is because like every time I do, there's just so many problems that like it's just not worth it.
All right, I'll start a space and then you all can jump over.
Well, it's okay. We can stay in this one. I mean, there's 157 people in here. Just maybe retweet the space again, guys, to see if maybe that'll help before we go and restart the space. But you can go ahead, Adam.
So it says Trump lawfare coordinator Norm Eisen said that Trump's first bogus impeachment was inoculation against disinformation, end quote, regarding Hunter Biden's laptop, meaning they used the impeachment process to pre.
Wait, Adam,
Yes.
we're not going through the threads. There was just a list of videos. We just needed played
Oh,
in
okay.
like succession.
Okay, I'll just play them in succession then. Okay.
Awesome. And then we also have Jack's thread that had videos.
Awesome. Let's do it.
I think it was worth it. And it's for a number of different reasons. Number one, I don't know about you, but I set multiple alarms to wake up in the morning. And I like to think that Russia was the first. I set 3. Russia was the first alarm. Ukraine was the second alarm. And COVID, which I explained, same pattern, was the third alarm. And the American people woke up. That's number one. Number two, all this horrible nonsense and still continuing with Hunter Biden and this fake dossier. You know, I was the White House ethics czar, and Alan knows I was not a gentle one. He and I together had, you have to make some very tough calls in government. We together managed to oust a very unethical person from the government. I was no gentle shrinking violet on ethics rules, but there was no rule forbidding Hunter Biden from working for that company. It's not against the law. It's not against the rules. Many adult family members do that kind of thing. And we managed to, I think, draw the sting. I'm afraid we would have had a repetition of the October surprise right down to the fake documents if that had not been thoroughly ventilated. So that was not in a partisan way, but for the sake of our country. Impeachment was an inoculation against disinformation. And so that's the second reason I thought it was so important. And then the third reason is it sent a message to America and the world that in the United States, no one is above the law. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. And there was no real dissent. When the second alarm went off in Congress, there was no real dissent. We had to do this. It was the right thing to do. And I think history will be kind to the impeachers. And you can ask Adam Schiff about it when he's with you later this week.
I will, and I'll attribute it to you if I may.
Oh, man. Yeah, history will not be kind to these people.
He is such a piece of garbage.
Right, like that's why I think it's almost better just to play the videos, right? I could sit up here till I'm blue in the face, which I have, right, and explain to you who Norm Eisen, but I think it's actually way more effective for you just to hear who he is.
100%.
All right, next video. Here we go.
Let's talk about Clarence Thomas. Why don't you do a quick update on the referral related to Clarence Thomas and where that's going?
Yeah, so Senator Whitehouse, along with a representative, both requested to the federal, conference that normally would refer complaints to the Department of Justice for a criminal investigation, for them to do that for Thomas.
Let's talk about Clarence.
That wasn't really relevant.
Fantastic energy, the hope for democracy that has refilled, put the wind in our sails in recent days. The immediate term, but also the medium term and the long term. This is not a partisan question because the spirit of autocracy, unfortunately, has been unleashed upon the country. So we're going to have to go on offense against it, irrespective of whoever you may be supporting in the election. That's not going anywhere, and irrespective of its outcome. But there's immediate, medium, and long-term things that we're going to do. And I feel so fortunate that the wonderful Allegra Lawrence Harvey, our state democracy defender, senior advisor, brilliant elections democracy, and just period litigator. We've known each other since the Bush v. Gore days. Has agreed to MC this panel, and she's going to introduce our panelists. And the entire room becomes a panel because we are going to come out to all of you for ideas. We can't go on offense against democracy alone. With that, passing the baton to Allegra.
Thank you so much, Norm, and thank you to all of you.
wait, hold on. Did he
We're gonna give
literally
you
just say we can't go after democracy alone?
I'm gonna rewind it a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's Jennifer. I was doing exactly the same thing. I'm like, did you just say
Let's
that?
go.
Yeah,
Let's go
can
back.
you replay that,
Yeah, let's
Adam?
do it.
For ideas, we can't go on offense against democracy alone. With that,
Okay. Yeah. So you did say that.
Yeah, against democracy. So, again, he's an insurrectionist.
Okay, can you mark that one, Adam? Rose, let's mark down that clip.
Time marker 1:15, and that autocracy in America thread of the researcher.
Well, Adam, play it, and I'll flip it.
Hold on one second. I want to let Paul go real quick. Paul, jump in here.
Oh, I'll wait. I'll go after.
Okay. Well, we kind of ended the clip, so you're free to go right now.
Mr. Philby's going to
Okay.
record it when Adam plays it back after.
Yeah, I kind of just had a random question. So I'm 32, and this past election was the first time kind of going full MAGA for me, and went through the whole undergrad and graduate school, and had to find a way out. Now I want to be involved with the administration. And I was just curious if anyone had created any kind of projects or nonprofits or anything in support of the president, and how y'all have gone about doing that. The project I'm looking at is building a nonprofit called the Center for Merit. And personally, I'm interested in meritocracy and the building of merit, especially in education. And that goes back to badges and rewards for students for being meritorious. So that's just a passion of mine that I have, that I'm trying to build a project and just trying to build support. And just I wanted to see if anyone had any thoughts.
Yeah, so we actually have our own, I don't have it up in the title, we usually do, but the big American flag here up on stage is our organization called America Mission. And it was kind of born out of spaces. I have a very long history in politics. So I was paid severely due to lawfare. So when we finally got our voices back and we were able to get on spaces, we started to kind of, explain to people what had been happening and what was done to us. And we kept getting the question of well, what do we do about it? What do we do about it? Right. So we created America Mission to answer that question. And we've been able to connect patriots all over the country to their government and kind of rethink the way that the American people interact with their government and holding their government officials accountable. And we have been doing a lot of grassroots organizing and researching a whole bunch of stuff. So I'd love for you to check us out. It sounds like, kind of something you might be interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I currently live in a kind of a scary place. I live in downtown Minneapolis. And I feel like I've always been called to these places that have a lot of opportunity for basically I want to become a Republican operative. I'm collecting a lot of data on the different groups that are here, on the different organizations that are actually on the other side. So I kind of want to get to a safe place, which will probably be DC, I imagine. But I'm still young, so I want to spend the rest of my life kind of building a project, building something that's going to be foundational for, like Donald Trump has said, building meritocracy. He's mentioned meritocracy many times and many speeches, and building merit. And I feel like that's almost like a world building kind of opportunity for us, and still young. And I'll definitely check out a lot of your projects as well. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Hold on, Kim. Where'd you go to undergrad?
University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Oh, very nice. I went to the University of Colorado Boulder, so I know what it's like to be in those Dem hot
CU
spots.
Boulder, yes.
I also saw you were from Chicago.
Yes, born in the Midwest. Chicago has changed a lot. Like since the pandemic, Chicago and Minneapolis are kind of basically the same thing. The urban core is just kind of rotting, and there's been a lot of white flight. You know, all the suburbs are kind of filling up with more of the upper class. But there's so much work to do, I think, in their inner cities. And unfortunately, the liberal governors, Governor Wallace, has done absolutely nothing. And literally outside of my street here, there's an open air drug market, Nicolay Avenue here in Minneapolis. And there's an epidemic happening. And yeah, it's kind of interesting to have studied American government, American politics, and seen like the early foundations of how meritorious and beautiful some of the constructs of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, and how beautiful even some of the stamps. I do a lot of stamp collecting, and the medals, the Medal of Honors, the Medal of Merit.
So, Paul, can I ask you a question? You know,
Yeah.
maybe not everybody in our audience is familiar with what a meritocracy is, or kind of what the words you're using to describe what you're talking about. Do you mind just like kind of explaining us maybe what you're talking about with meritocracy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, meritocracy was one of the foundational ideals in American government and American politics. If you go on eBay and look at a reward of merit, public school reward of merit, you will see the reward of merit was issued between 1870 to 1920 in most public schools. And that's for students who showed high merit or high honor. And that could be for public service, that could be for doing a community project, that could be for being outstanding and helping other citizens. There are many reasons why the reward of merit was built. And unfortunately, in the 1900s, it's kind of gone away, where liberal politics has said everybody deserves a blanket kind of support. Doesn't matter what your merit is. And so I just really loved how Donald Trump this second time has really advocated a lot for meritocracy, just basically the building of merit. And merit is the shining gold. It's what you do for someone else, what you do for your country, what you do for your fellow servicemen and citizen. And getting a degree, I think, is a big part of it. And I think a lot of kids these days, they get a degree and they're left working as a barista, right? They built up their merit in schools. And I think a lot of the schools have failed the next generation in terms of connecting them with jobs and opportunities. So, yeah, it's hard to stay above and stay afloat. But I think with Donald Trump's vision, with building merit and building a meritorious society, I think a lot of that, like what you show to the world, will start to rise to the top. And that's kind of what my project is about.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. And yeah, check out America Mission, because I think you might see that we have a lot of things in common. So we would love to talk to you more and might be able to help you out with what you're working on.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate you. Go ahead, Adam.
You know, Trump did a pretty good job of kind of introducing that in an election cycle with the Trump captains. You know, you got this cool Trump Force 47 captain hat. You know, it's a collector thing that you could hold and be proud of and keep for years. Kind of like I grew up in the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts. You know, I was a Weeblo, so I loved, checking off those little boxes of doing different things to earn different merit badges. And it made you go out, you go do good deeds, do different things. You learn different things, from basket weaving, but it wasn't funded by USAID. I'll say that much. Underwater basket weaving merit badge. I don't know if they had that, but yeah, you get the idea. And I love the idea of merit. It gives you something to strive for, and it helps lift society.
Perfect. Do we have the clip of Norm Eisen on Mea Culpa podcast?
Yes, that's coming up next. Did you want me to cut this clip short and then go to the?
Oh no, keep going with the clip.
This one is 20 minutes, and it's going to go into Michael Cohen, Danya Perry, and basically how she makes it clear that lawfare is political, as she mentions Project 2025 and Trump holding real something.
Okay, so if just let it play, and if you like, I'll interrupt if I have to, or if you're on stage or in the audience and want to come up, just raise your hand and I'll have Adam stop the video and we can go through if anybody has any questions. But I think it's really important for people to understand this, because it's one thing coming from us, right? It's another thing to hear it come out of their own mouths. So
yeah, this autocracy in America conference was so twisted, and the way that they talked, it really just, we sat there and had to just, try and wrap our brains around this idea and perspective that is just really off the rails.
Yeah, definitely. It was a long listen and watch when we went through it. But Kim, check your DMs from Cyber Patriot. I did. If you want to send any other videos my way, communicate via that, please. And thank you. I'll start playing the video.
Okie
doke.
And I feel so fortunate that the wonderful Allegra Lawrence Harvey, our state democracy defender, senior advisor, brilliant elections democracy, and just period litigator. We've known each other since the Bush v. Gore days. Has agreed to MC this panel, and she's going to introduce our panelists, and the entire room becomes a panel, because we are going to come out to all of you for ideas. We can't go on offense against democracy alone. With that, passing the baton to Allegra.
Thank you so much, Norm, and thank you to all of you. We're going to give you all a hand because you made it all the way through. We have heard some weighty information today, and you're here for the solutions and to be part of the solution. So we look forward to hearing from our panelists and from all of you and the expertise throughout the room. We have three wonderful panelists who are here to bring us a variety of perspectives. We're going to start to my right, Danya Perry, who's the founding partner of Perry Law. While she enjoys a breadth of experience and has received high praise for her work, her role as a former Southern District of New York prosecutor and New York State Deputy Attorney General makes her thinking on all of these issues particularly important. You'll hear about some pretty famous cases she's worked on. We, of course, have Attorney General Matt Platkin sitting next to her. As we will discuss, state attorneys general can take a lead role in attempting to combat the autocracy, and we look forward to the thoughts of New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin. He also serves on the executive committee of the National Association of Attorneys General. And of course, we have Judge Nancy Gertner. She's a well-recognized legal scholar, bringing her perspective as a former United States District Judge for the District of Massachusetts. She's currently a senior lecturer on law at Harvard Law School. And we are here to talk about the best defense being a good offense, right? A good offense. We're here to talk about the offense. As Norm says, the short term, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do tomorrow? Medium term and long term.
Wait, hold on, Adam, pause it for 1 second.
Panelists today.
Yeah, just go ahead and mute Cyber whenever you're ready to.
Oh, okay. And this is something I want to point out for MAGA as a whole, right? What they just said right there is actually super important, right? Is you're better have a good offense as well as a defense, right? And right now we need to go on offense, right? Like, yes, you always fight like you're 10 points down. I get it. But also you fight differently when you know that you have the cards, the moral high ground, the legal high ground. And we need to start operating from that instead of like acting like they're still kicking us while we're down. And I think like that's a conversation that I think needs to happen. Avi, not right now, but they just said it. And I'm a firm believer, right, is that it's the intent behind actions, right? It's the intent behind what you're doing, right? And even if the other side points something out
that could be used if the intent behind it was correct. I think like we need to start exploring these things, right? Because like if you have good intent and the other people had bad intent, right? Like it's the intent behind it. So like we need to go on offense and strong and hard and not let up and not act like we're like, you know, like there's no hope, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
100% step on their throats, metaphorically.
And physically.
Is that we can talk about Project 2025 and the threat, and 2025 sounds like it's a long way off. But when we talk about the reality, we've heard from our panelists today, we know that we are living with some of the realities of Project 2025 right now, right, in July of 2024. And so I want to start off by hearing from our speakers who have all had their experience going on the offense. Danya, why don't we start with you? If you can tell us about some of your experience, some of the tools you've used, and some of the lessons you've learned.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Allegra, and thank you, Norm, and thank you, all of you, for sticking it out. As Dahlia Lithwick said a couple hours ago, she was gobsmacked then that you guys are still kicking around, and now even after cocktails that you're all toughing it out. So that portends well for the next couple of years. So I come from this. We've heard different perspectives from so many brilliant panelists today who have all kinds of prescriptions for how to get through potential autocracy should Trump be reelected. You know, there's organizing, of course, there's voting as the ultimate bulwark. You know, all kinds of things, but I'm a trial lawyer, I'm a litigator. And so that's the perspective through which I view this. And Norm asked the question, you know, what can we all do? So I'll just, if you all will bear with me, tell you what I've done and what I plan to do going forward, and in partnership with some of the amazing organizations who have helped put together this conference today and who have been represented.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to mute Cyber Patriot. Okay, Paul, I don't know you, but I see you throwing hearts up at these people and thumbs up. Like, why are you hearting these people? We don't heart these people. Paul. Okay, go ahead, Adam. Keep going.
So as Allegra said, I started my public service career as a prosecutor in the Southern District of New York, ended up as chief trial counsel and then deputy chief of the criminal division there, and then went to state prosecutions for a while where I was the chief investigator on an anti-corruption panel. And that, you know, has kind of shaped my thinking a little bit about some of the matters that we'll be talking about. And then I kind of fell backwards into resistance litigation, I guess we can call it. After I started my little litigation boutique several years ago, my very first client was Michael Avenatti, kind of a blast from the past. Right. And he stood accused of, in the case I represented, it was the first of several prosecutions. But this one was for alleged extortion of a giant.
Can we go to Norm Eisen?
Yeah, you want to jump to the Michael Cohen, Norm Eisen interaction?
I don't know why we're. I mean, I understand why we should, right? But like for the sake of the space and for my head, like, oh, let's go back to Michael Avenatti.
Right.
Like, really?
Well, Jan, according to CNN, he could be president.
Tell people stop doing this.
Sorry, that was Michael Cohen interrupting you, Chris. But go ahead. Chris?
I just made a flippant remark because our roly-poly buddy from CNN told Michael whatever the hell his name is.
Avenatti?
Avenatti, yeah. That he could be president.
Was that Brian Seltzer or whatever?
Yeah.
You said roly-poly, I assume.
Potato. But do we have the whole Michael Cohen interview on Mea Culpa with Norm Eisen?
If it's 10 minutes long, 10 minutes and 20 seconds long, then yes. If it's longer than
That's about as long as I can stand Michael Cohen and Norm Eisen for. So yeah, we're 10 minutes sounds about right.
I think Norm is pretty blitzed in this video. Like if he's not drunk, he's at least stoned.
Oh yeah, he does kind of look kind of heavy-eyed there. Heavy-eyed Norm.
The way that he's like simping to Michael Cohen, it's like bleh.
Yeah.
Somalian pirates.
That tell people stop doing this, right? That this isn't good for our democracy. They've been silent as to this entire issue. And that in and of itself should be an indictment upon the party.
Unfortunately, you'll remember that in Gangs of New York, there was the Protestant Confederation of American Natives. That was Bill the Butcher's gang. And then there were the immigrant dead rabbits.
Yeah, this dude definitely looks baked. Sorry.
The champions of democracy in this cycle are far from dead rabbits. Okay, democracy and its advocates are fighting back in court, in the court of public opinion, by talking about the issues. The press, thankfully, is not treating election denialism as if, the Republicans say Trump didn't win the election, and the Republicans say Trump actually won. The Democrats say Biden won. No, even the press calls it a conspiracy theory, election denial. So we know the American people care about democracy, and I think folks need to get out and vote as if our democracy were on the ballot, because it is, Michael. If the followers of Trump, if his acolytes are able to occupy these election offices, they will represent a threat to our democracy. So folks need to keep that in mind. And again, just me, it's just Norm's personal views. They need to exercise their franchise, irrespective of party.
Could you imagine, how could you not be angered? The fact that something as routine as an election has now gone so off the rails that there are conspiracy theories before the election even takes place. You have activists preventing people from voting the way they want. There's already questions as to the number of mail-in ballots that will or will not be counted because there are new individuals that are in charge of this. It brings me to my next question, Norm. During the 2020 election, it was the courts that saved democracy. This time around, it's kind of like anyone's guess, right? What, if any, measures have been taken to ensure that we have a free and fair election? I mean, are we ready for MAGA shenanigans and we'll call it the Steve Bannon precinct strategy? And then how about election deniers, like I said with Carrie Lake, who lose their races? Are there guardrails in place, if at all, if things go wrong?
We made it through the 2020 election when you had the election denier in chief, the number one election denier in the White House with all the power of the presidency. So I think the same tools and structures that got us through 2020 successfully, as you point out, the courts played a role, but it wasn't only the courts, it was election officials of both parties, even those of Trump's own party who stood up to him. In Georgia, look, he's still furious at Kemp and Raffensperger. And yet the amazing thing, Michael, they both survived their primaries. So that, by and large, this is the first cycle in which the Trump following election deniers have tried to get in. I don't think they're going to be so successful. in doing that. And here's why. Let me tell you the guardrails. Number one, there's the Constitution. When people try truly outrageous, like if some partisan governor wants to recognize one of these election deniers who didn't actually win, the Constitution, the laws, and as you point out, the courts do not allow that. Second, I do think, having lived through 2020, the press is much more vigilant. Michael, when you warned me that Donald Trump would not leave the White House without a fight, as you said, he'd never leave without being forced out. You were one of the first people to get me to focus. This was way before the impeachment. This was in the beginning of 2019. So you were almost 2 years ahead of the curve. And then through the impeachment, I saw the kind of person he was. I reprinted your warning in my book on the impeachment. Now we've been through it once, so people have their guard up. And I think, we're really going to count on the voters. I think the vast majority of Americans reject this election denial idea that Trump actually won in 2020. And the implications of that, if you'll embrace a baseless claim like that in a past election, what might you do in a future election? I think the American people aren't going to like that. So ultimately, yes, the Constitution, the laws, judges, elections officials who do the right thing, and ultimately the American people are going to have to do the right thing.
Well, you lost, Norm. You lost big time. Figured that would be a good place to pause. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, that's a good place to pause. Does anybody have anything they want to address or bring up? If not, we'll just keep going.
That's the first time I've heard that full 10 minutes.
Well, see, this isn't the clip I was thinking of. I've never heard this.
Ooh.
Right? The clip I was thinking of was because he's obviously is he on the phone?
No,
with
they're doing
Cohen
a like a Zoom
or
call, like kind of podcast mea culpa.
Yeah, so the one I'm thinking of is Eisen is in studio with Cohen.
Oh yeah.
I haven't
And
seen
that's
that
when
one.
he talks about how that Cohen was the initial person to go to Eisen, right, before any of this, right? Because you have to remember, Norm Eisen is the one who also, not only did he have all of these impeachments drawn up, not only did he have all of this stuff up, he's the one who filed suit against President Trump about his Trump properties being used in the upcoming 2017 presidential, like his first term, that he was going to use the properties as like bribe tools, right? Like put people up at the thing. So him and this is something not a lot of people know. Norm Eisen and the producer of Tiger King, who also owns multiple hotels in Soho, I believe, in New York City, brought lawsuit against Donald Trump and tried to stop him before he even took office over this Trump hotel thing, right? So all of that happened. But Michael Cohen was the original one to go to Eisen, and he admits that all of this lawfare stems from Michael Cohen, which is why I brought Michael Cohen up earlier. And my dad shared the space, and I sent it to him. I wish he would get in here and come up and speak, because my dad knew Michael Cohen back before he even started working for the Trump organization, right? So my line of questioning on Michael Cohen before wasn't me just being a researcher. Like, I was actually like that. They were pointed questions, right? Because if we can prove, and I think I can prove, right, with the information my dad has, right, firsthand information, that Michael Cohen was never working for Donald Trump's best interest. Michael Cohen was a hired hand by the DNC to go in and set up Trump. So if he ever ran, they knew that there was shady shit that Michael Cohen did under Donald Trump's nose that would be able to come back on Donald Trump and set up this whole impeachment thing to begin with. And I think that's something, and that's like the first time I've ever really said that on a space, right? But that's what we need to prove. And if I can get my dad in here, I'm going to send this to him again. We might be able to get somewhere on this, because I don't think that Michael Cohen was ever working for Donald Trump.
So you're saying it could possibly be a plant, right?
From the very beginning.
Seems like he's very buddy-buddy with Norm.
It was a setup from the very beginning, because if you go back and you look at the law firm, that's the word I was looking for before, law firm, right, that Michael Cohen came out of, right, the original law firm that he was hired out of, right, because I know, right, that there were very loud rumors, right, that Michael Cohen was originally facing tax charges before he went to work for Trump, right? And then when he went and worked for Trump, right, all of a sudden, where the hell did your tax charges go, bro? Where did they go? Right? So he goes in as Donald Trump's private lawyer, because when he first went in, right, he didn't work as Donald Trump's private lawyer. He worked on a team of a whole bunch of lawyers that worked for Trump, right? He wasn't just the single lawyer. Then Michael Cohen, right, to get on Trump's good side, went around to all of the Trump properties in New York City and started buying up massive amounts of real estate at each one of the Trump buildings, which Avi put him on Trump's radar to be like, yo, this guy's really investing in me. Like, remember, Trump's a businessman at this point, not running for office. Okay. So this guy's standing up. He's supporting the cause, right? He wants to see Trump succeed. He has invested his own money, right? So what happens? He becomes Trump's personal lawyer. Well, now he has the keys to the kingdom, right? He can do deals on the side. He can purposely, I don't know, send payments to known prostitutes
behind Trump's back,
even if Donald Trump didn't know it, right? And because Trump is running a massive organization, he trusts his lawyer, right? Like, how much could he have secretly over the years set up on Trump, right? Knowing damn well that Norm Eisen, right? People, Mark Elias, right? Because Michael Cohen worked for Hillary Clinton, people. Okay? He was part of Hillary Clinton, right? So you have Trump's lawyer, right, who had full keys, full access to the kingdom, setting up shit for years. Trump decides to run because it was not a secret that Trump always said he was going to run for president, right? So if they knew all that, and Michael Cohen came out of the law firm, right? Oh, good. Insurrection Barbie's here. I wanted to talk to her about Norm Eisen. If he, and literally the law firm, go back to the original people who started the law firm, they were the financiers of the Democratic Party. They were all the high-powered attorneys in Los Angeles, okay, of all the stars who are going after Donald Trump now, right? So I think the setup happened way long ago. And because of the information, because my dad was involved with Donald and Michael Cohen and all of that, like, I think I can prove it. I really do. But okay, hold on. I'll get off.
Let me add one thing to that, Jen. I'll be short.
Yeah, and Insurrection Barbie, thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're here. We have so much Michael Cohen stuff. Adam, go ahead. Then we'll go to Matt, and then we'll kind of recap.
Sounds good. Yeah, and let's not forget, from 2016 till, up to 2020, he was illegitimate president. He's an illegitimate president. So we're what's his name, Norm Eisen here is talking about election denial and all this stuff. It roots back there. They were the original election deniers, So let's not forget that. And I'll yield there.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, this guy was a snake, but let's to play devil's advocate here for a second. If he was not, if he was just let me go work for Trump and let me cozy up my way and just happen to invest in some Trump properties, and then we'll get him, then we'll sabotage him. Like if you were a mole, so to speak, for the Democrats and you wanted to do that, of course you would go in all innocent like and create the appearance of being all I'm just in it. Let me cozy my way into becoming Trump's personal. Then stab him in the back. And it's like I heard somebody say one time: first the devil drags you in, then he stabs you in the back. Yeah, that's exactly. It sounds like, Jen, what you're describing here that's precisely what happened here. Is Michael Cohen dragged Trump into something he otherwise wouldn't have been dragged into, and then turned on him when arguably he needed it most.
Well, it's not even that he dragged him into something, right? Like, if you're someone's personal attorney, think about what you have access to, right? And you are given a certain, like, what am I trying to say? Like, not carte blanche, right? But like, you are given certain access because you're supposed to be the attorney. You're supposed to be
capabilities,
trusted, right? So like, he could have been doing things all along that like didn't throw up red flags, right? Like in the long run, maybe might not have been that big of a deal. Maybe it was a processing error, right? But they knew it was there. And they knew that once Trump, if they had to stop him, once Trump started running, right, they knew if they went after the taxes, there'd be something there. They knew if they went after this, they could point to something, right? That something that even if it's not even usually, right, like unlawful or whatever, they could still point to it to create a question that there was something there to give them the auspices or like the leverage they needed to go in fully like they did, which was all completely unlawful to begin with, right? Because they had their guy on the inside, right? Like, yeah. And that's why they immediately went after the attorney-client privilege, which brings us back to Norm Eisen. So, Norm Eisen, what a great guy. Insurrection Barbie, thank you so much for the thread you did the other day on Norm Eisen. If you want to throw it up in the nest, go right ahead. And is there anything you want to like that you've come across that is like really interesting to you? And then like, I think kind of, I don't know how much of the early research you've done on Norm Eisen, but there is so much there that it blows a lot of people's minds. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for my thread. I knew like peripherally Norm Eisen, and based on all the things that we all know. But that deep dive I did was kind of shocking, even though I think I knew all of that. But when you put it all together and you see how it all looks, that's when it's like, whoa, this is like a criminal conspiracy that he's at the head of, I think. And there's so many pieces to this because there's the path, right? So all the things that he did to Trump the first term, but there's also all of the stuff that is linked to USAID and what they're doing with the lawsuits and the judges and the bench. Like, it's all interlinked. I really realized that USAID was the head of the dragon or whatever they call it, head of the snake. I don't know. What do they call it? I can't think of it.
Head of the snake.
It's the head of the dragon, but I would describe it as like the shadow government.
Yeah,
right? So for pretty much like every position they have in regular government, they like made one in USAID, and that's where they ran the nefarious.
Well, and the other part to that is the response that as a conservative you would get when you would talk to one of your liberal friends was that would take so many people to be coordinated in it to pull it off, right? And now we realize there were so many people involved to run these plays. And he was the lead coordinator of it.
And it's all connected. Like, it's connected to the American Bar Association. The American Bar Association is connected to trying to get judges funneled into the district courts, which they've done. All these judges were, not all of them, but there's a way too big of a portion of judges that sat on the heads of these boards and were their lawyers, like Southern Poverty Law Center, ACLU, what's that one with the really bad, Brennan Institute or whatever. It's all connected. And then on top of it, they have their own media empire, which goes into all of these countries and starts the propaganda campaigns through internews. It's pretty much, if I had to think of a very diabolical shadow government, like, I don't think I could ever come up with anything this complex and this convoluted, because it's kind of ingenious if you think about it. But when you start putting all the pieces together,
and they went in under the guise of medical, right? They'd be like, oh, your country has an AIDS problem, right? Which we freaking caused, right? Oh, your country has this problem. Oh, wait, the American government was behind that, but we're here to fix the problem. So they send in these quote unquote aid workers, right? Who are actually just color revolutionary freaking democracy fighters, right? And it's not the same democracy that we're fighting for, okay? Totally different. They just put a nice little title on it, right? And they'd go in and they would start like this like subversion campaign, right? And sow the deceit and the distrust of what was going on in their country. And then they'd bring in their actual color revolutionary experts through the US State Department and places like that to actually carry out the overthrow of these countries in the quote name of democracy.
Yeah, and so the thing with it, yes, to bring you back to the color revolution, and the thing with Norm Eisen too, is like the father of the color revolution. He is the one who orchestrated the color revolution in Ukraine in 2014. That's the crazy part when you start linking it back to that. What I think happened that was ultimately the beginning of the end for USAID is that all of these subversive, like imperialistic things that we do all over the world under the veneer of humanitarian aid maybe could have gone under the radar, but when Trump won, they took that entire playbook and brought it home, right? They took the NGOs that destabilize the country, right? The media that starts to distort reality, that work together with the NGOs, the open borders, the George Soros, like the whole playbook. It's all the same. And then the paramilitary, I call them Al-Qaeda, like the paramilitary that they put on the streets, like to protest all their stuff. It all plays in together. And they took that and they brought that home when Donald Trump won. And we still figured out a way to defeat it. And so the only last play they really have is the court. And when I started digging into how radicalized our courts are, another shock thing for me, because I'm not a person who doesn't keep up with what's going on. I really do, but like when you start looking at it all together, it's kind of shocking. Like,
an insurrection, they actually subverted courts all over the world before they did it here, and they did test runs with the legal system too. Look what they did with Ukraine. They fired the prosecutor, right? They have done it for years, and they immediately did it with Bolsonaro in Brazil. It was the exact same play. And
practice makes perfect, Rose.
But you look at the legal, what happened with Imran Khan, they can, look what happened in Georgia, right? In Romania, they subverted the courts. Brazil subverted the courts, and they did it here. You're so right.
That's the final play.
And that's how they're able to hold power, right? Is that they knew that even if the president was in power, they had their people in the court system. And that's why you saw George Soros go around and literally buy off DAs and prosecutors all over this country. And you could even see in his 2019 appearance at Davos, right? The question comes up. He's giving a small speech to a panel, and George Soros is up there, and he's like, someone's like, oh, well, like, what about John Roberts in the Supreme Court, and he's like, oh, don't worry about John Roberts. Don't worry. I got him on lock. He pretty much works for me. Like, in not so many words, he literally said that on the stage in Davos. So you're telling me this terrorist, this Jew who turned in his fellow Jews, so don't even come at me with the freaking anti-Semitic shit, okay? We're not going there. I'm going right at that motherfucker because he is evil. Okay, that is why I'm going after him, right? He is paying off our courts and trying to overthrow our country. This is what he has done all over the world. And either we call a spade and address the problem, or we're going to give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award. Right? Like, we're going to watch as him and Huma Abedin bring the Clintons and the Soroses together for the first time. Or for the last time, you know what I'm saying? Like, cement that relationship. It's so bad, and the fact that like no one did anything about it. They just watched it happen, and people who tried to do something about it were silenced. They were raided. They were subpoenaed. They were charged. They were thrown in prison. And this happened in America, right? This isn't some foreign country. But okay, so Norm Eisen. Hold on. So Norm Eisen, right? It's not just the Maidan revolution. He literally wrote a book. And JackTron, I'm going to go to you, and I want to get through these hands, and then we can kind of like open it up for general discussion. And Barbie, I don't know how much time you have, but there is so much here that needs to get exposed about Norm Eisen because he literally wrote the playbook. It's called Democracy Playbook. Of how to run a color revolution, right? Like, he worked for Obama in the Czech Republic doing the Velvet Revolution, right? So he is someone who is brought all over the world to literally stage revolutions in countries. Go ahead, Barbie, and then we'll go to JackTron.
Yeah, the destabilization of countries, there's a playbook. It's definitely his, like 7 steps that he explains, and I'm going to read it again because I forgot them, but we should all probably read that because once you read it, you can see the signs everywhere of what they're doing. It's the same playbook all over the world. And I think that it's so much easier to see how all the pieces go into the puzzle after the whole USAID scandal was cracked wide open. Because before it was a little murky, but now that I see that all of the interconnectivity, that is the crazy part. It's very smart and diabolical and evil, but well,
and to take it one step further real quick is that Norm Eisen, right, because he's an attorney, has become the legal counsel or the general counsel or some form of legal entity for all of these NGOs, right? He handles all of the legal work for all of the NGOs, right? So he has hid so he has his front stuff, right? Which the shit he puts out in front is bad enough. Right. But the real shit is happening behind attorney-client privilege. Right. And he was at the forefront of taking away Michael Cohen's attorney-client privilege because he knew he had to have Michael Cohen sing like a bird, and he couldn't if there was the attorney-client privilege, right? So we need to have someone go after Norm Eisen's attorney-client privilege immediately, and that will show how the network of all of these NGOs are working together to foremost take down Trump and MAGA. But Jack,
Jen, real quick, I don't know if you see everybody on stage. I think Crowdsource the Truth that put out that video, "You're going to jail, Norm," that we love so much is up on stage. Okay, just wanted to make sure you saw that, and they have their hand up. Okay.
There's so many people with their hands up, and we have so many great people on stage. Like, I'm kind of struggling a bit, so please don't get offended. I'm doing my best. I'm not trying to slight anybody, but yes, of course, Crowdsource the Truth, chase down. He's like the only person that's been able to chase down Norm Eisen on the street and tell him he's going to jail. Kim, if you want to get that video queued up, we could actually play that. But Jack did put out
all I wanted to say is, Adam, I sent you a video that's really, really, really pertinent to this conversation we just had about.
Do you send it to me or Cyber Patriot?
I DM'd you.
Okay. Could you DM it to Cyber Patriot, please, so I could, if I'm gonna pull it up and play it. Please. Thank you.
Yeah, if you guys have any videos or stuff you want played for the space, please send it to Cyber Patriot, which is up on stage with the blue glowing eyes. Jack, go quick, and then we'll go to Crowdsource the Truth.
All right, I was just going to say that DataRepublican revealed today that one of Norm Eisen's NGOs that he's on the board of, it got a grant, had a revenue of $17 million, and it turns out that they used it to fund a Muppet Show for democracy. So I just thought I had a little bit of humor there. He's spending his money on funding Muppet shows.
I really hope it was the one I watched where it was like, everybody's racist. We're all racist. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. Okay, Crowdsource the Truth, jump in here.
Hey, thanks very much. And you know what? When I came into the conversation, Jen, you were talking about how far back this lawfare against Trump goes. I wanted to add a bit on that. But before I do, I just wanted to say that I think that it's fantastic that DOGE has exposed USAID and is showing how the money is flowing into this network that then hires all kinds of different other, nonprofit things. But I think it's really literally just the tip of the iceberg. This is showing us how this network of underground, tax exempt money that we all subsidize with our tax dollars, this is just how it operates. And, each one of these literally thousands of things are hiring PR firms and law firms, and even to the extent of hiring individual contractors who, in my case and other people's cases, will directly thwart people with lawfare. And remember, lawfare, a lot of people hear this term and they just think, oh, it's Donald Trump popping off, or that's some, Fox News buzzword. But remember, it's a codified, methodology. That guy, Charles Dunlap Jr., the major general, retired major general from the Air Force, he said lawfare is a 21st century mechanism of warfighting for achieving a political or military objective. So, Jen, to the point of what you were saying, there's in my highlights on this Twitter account, this Crowdsource the Truth. I'm Jason Goodman, for people who don't know me. I'm not trying to hide behind a cartoon. But in the highlights of this Twitter account, there is a deposition of Donald Trump that was conducted in 2013 by the lawyer Jared Beck, who, remember, famously sued the DNC in like 2018, 19. Anyway, Jared Beck deposes Donald Trump, and he's asking him all about Felix Sater. And during the course of that deposition, he says that Felix Sater came to the Trump organization, started calling around as far back as 2000, maybe even 1999. And remember, it was revealed in 2019 that Felix Sater had signed that secret agreement with Andrew Weissman in 1998. So, Jen, I think this lawfare, surveillance of, and control over Donald Trump began then. Because remember, Felix Sater became a made man under Bill Clinton. And you're right, it's been known for a long time. Donald Trump's first announcement of running for president, I think might have been in 1987. Where some guy who owned a newspaper or something paid him to, and it didn't go anywhere, but he was talking about it for sure. And they might have said, oh, you know what? Hillary wants to run for president. And if Trump is going to run, let's just keep an eye on that. Put this guy Sater on him with the wacky Trump Moscow, Trump Tower. It's not that wacky. Trump Tower Moscow was a cutting edge idea in 2015. And
yeah, but that all came from Michael Cohen.
Well, no, Felix Sater, remember, was emailing Michael Cohen saying we have to get our boy to Moscow. It was Felix Sater that was telling Michael Cohen.
So if they had his guy on the inside and they knew that they had to set up Trump, they would have Sater email Cohen, knowing that Cohen is going to give the go ahead because it's going to come back to haunt him.
And that's what I'm saying. You see, I can smell. It's like, I did this show many years ago called Hillbilly Blood with these guys who were like, you could go into the woods and they pick up a certain kind of leaf and smell it and say, oh, there's a deer over here. It's like, how the hell do you know that? They can smell the piss, I'm like that with these kind of stupid FBI, lawfare, Norm Eisen, Andrew Weissman operations right now. I smell them. They're over here in the woods. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but all these people are set upon Trump. It's amazing how he's being, I'm not trying to blame him or say, oh, he's stupid to get these lawyers or whatever, but even Emil Bove right now, everything that he's doing at the DOJ that's so unprecedented. If you saw Andrew Weissman yapping his head off to Jen Psaki this morning, I think they're rearing up to hang Eric Adams on Donald Trump like an albatross, because they're going to say, oh, look at all this corruption. And now Trump is trying to let him off to do something screwy. Because who is Emil Bove? Trump's only known him since 2023. He was a U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. It's one of the most corrupt jurisdictions in the entire nation. And he started his career at Sullivan and Cromwell, literally the law firm that created the CIA. So what appears to me is Eric Adams should have been prosecuted. This was not a political prosecution of Eric Adams. He's involved in insane criminal behavior here in New York City. This is going to be another big lawfare attack. Andrew Weissman was like a giddy schoolgirl this morning in his conversation with Jen Psaki, and he was very nervous about a week ago. I think their new script has been set, and there's just going to be...
Well, do you know what the difference is this time, though? What? Is that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are exposing the fact that these people have been stealing from the American people. And that is a game changer. It nullifies everything that these mofos have been doing, and they are going to go to jail.
Well, I just think it's important that we don't become complacent, because you see, the thing that these criminal lawfare lawyer, this is, I'm telling you, a military action by them. And while you are correct, Kim, there's a timing issue. And see, that's why they bring these. They know that these individual district court judges don't have the authority to shut down the executive, but they can grandstand and do it and have it take effect for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, force the Supreme Court to have to act, get lots of chatter on the news. That's what they're doing, This is what I call stipulating reality. When you go into court, these lawyers, they don't care about the facts, the law. It's just, the agreed upon facts, the stipulated whatever. That's what they're trying to do. Anyway.
Well, and that's why we have to get people away from the whole mainstream media and all of these talking points. It's like, how many times are people going to fall for that kind of stuff, right? And it's important that people need to understand the conversations that are going on this platform with these people that are up on stage, and really digging in and shouting out and calling these guys out. I mean, Jen has been talking about Norm Eisen. You've been talking about Norm Eisen since blue in the face, right? And now we finally have a bully pulpit, and we need to get up on it and use it.
Well, and I think Norm Eisen is dirty enough and high enough, right, that he really could bring down, especially if you could pierce the attorney-client privilege.
The difficult thing there, though, Jen, so that's the other thing I wanted to address. They didn't pierce the attorney-client privilege with Michael Cohen. That was part of the setup, too. Remember, Cohen had that legal consultant, Robert, what was his name? Costello. And so what that was is Costello told the whole story. He testified in the case. He said that Cohen called his law firm and said, I got raided by the FBI. I need a lawyer. And he went and met this guy at the restaurant at the hotel he was at, or whatever hotel he described. And Cohen told him the whole story. And Costello ultimately didn't represent him, but because they had had all of these conversations in the context of him seeking representation, it was still considered attorney-client privilege communications. But it was Cohen who went to the FBI and said, "Oh, I want to tell you all this stuff about Costello." And they said, "Well, you got to waive this." Costello testified in that court hearing with Stormy Daniels that when the FBI called him and said, "Oh, we want to ask you about Michael Cohen," he said, "Well, he was you better have a waiver." And the FBI did. That came from Michael Cohen, not from Norm Eisen. The issue is this is all part of the lawfare. See, it's basically lawfare 101, that they want to control both sides of the caption. And by that, I mean, if they're the plaintiff, they want to control some part of the defendant. If you're the target, they want to have co-defendants in there who are, tricking you, or your attorney is the golden prize. They want to control your attorney. That's what they did to me in the Emmys case. My attorney, his only other client was Felix Sater. And I didn't know the significance of any of this until years later. And that's caused me to learn all this about this complex web of how this lawfare works. So while it's excellent that they're focusing lots of attention on USAID, the thing I hope that people will consider is this is a network. USAID is like talking about a website. I want people to understand this is like the internet of fraud. You also have the Brookings Institution, which Norm Eisen is a fellow there. That thing has $500 million flowing into it and out of it to the Lawfare Institute. And, that's another great confrontation where I spoke to Ben Wittes about tons of money going to his home. See, then those guys take that money and pay people like Vindman. Vindman got paid $300,000 out of the Lawfare Institute, and he's doing things like lying on the stand, testifying, going on MSNBC, etc. So it's a very, very complex network. This is almost like Elon Musk has just killed a roach in the kitchen, and what I'm telling you is there's like 50 of them in the walls.
Jack, I feel like there's a mind map
All these
in
names,
everything
right,
he just
Kim?
said.
All right, hold on. We have Trash Panda up on
Perfect timing.
stage.
All right.
Trash, are you here?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yay, Trash. Everybody's been messaging me that they've been so worried about you and we need you.
Yeah, no, I know. I've been watching from afar. I haven't obviously been able to speak very much, and every time I go to open a space or have a space, I've got somebody coming in, some specialist coming and talking to me about something or this or that or the other. This doctor doing this and this doctor doing that and everything else. So it was almost nearly impossible for me to even participate in spaces, things like that, because of everything that was going on. A lot of attention was paid to me for 19 days while I was in the hospital, but I just walked in the door after stopping at the gas station to pick up a couple of things and pick up a bottle of water, things like that. And so I'm just getting back into this. So I'm catching up, but I'm also not missing the fun and the circus that Norm Eisen's going through right now, especially as his clearance is getting stripped. You guys have no idea how big of a deal that really, 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 really is. And one more thing I wanted to mention that was not mentioned by Crowdsource was Georgetown Law. Georgetown Law, these are people like Rosa Brooks. These are people where a lot of these people are coming out of. This is where they're being recruited out of into these NGOs and into these ICOs and to many of these other places where they are working as intelligence contractors, maybe as attorneys, maybe as operatives, maybe whatever they're doing. But Georgetown Law is a center for where the roaches will scatter once you turn the light on. Another place to look is some of these newly established centers at Harvard, mainly Erica Chenoweth. She runs, I can't remember this yet. You guys are going to have to work with me the next couple of days as my memory comes back. I lost a lot of my faculties. I couldn't speak, couldn't walk. I couldn't do a lot of things. My memory was shot. So it's all coming back. As you can tell, it's starting to come back. But
Welcome home, Trash. And
look
it's
up
so great to see you.
look up Erica Chenoweth too. She's part of the Maria Stephan Lisa 50 and Color Revolution crowd, who's no different than Norm Eisen and many of these other people. So keep an eye on these. These are all the same roaches that are going to scatter as these lights turn on. So.
Well, I was going to circle back to that and say we have to weave in the Sunrise Movement people, Lisa Fithian, like they are. It is such a tangled web. I mean, I hate to say that cliche, but it really is. It's quite brilliant.
And again, I just want to remind people, Georgetown law. That is a big source for where a lot of this stuff starts, and then it spreads out. Just so we're clear. And again, I don't want to be sued by Georgetown. I'm simply stating the fact that many of these people that we could name, that we have their receipts for, that participated in many of these activities, came out of the Georgetown Law Center. This is where they came from. There's a reason that Rosa Brooks blocked me, okay? There's a reason why she didn't like that we did Transition Integrity Project 2024, and we knew that she didn't like. And there's a reason that Brandy Zendrosny tried to do a hit piece on us because of it, including me. And I even got, again, the moniker, the random internet man with the raccoon face profile. So now I've got two. Now I've got Renee DiResta and Rosa Brooks. So I'm racking them up here.
Racking up those ladies. Hey, whatever happened to that Pete Sessions letter that he sent to Rosa Brooks? Did anything ever come of that? Did she get a hearing or?
No, of course not.
It's so ugh. Okay.
Isn't Brandy
Dude, I'm so happy
Zendrosny
Trash
the
is
same
back.
person who wrote that hit piece on Mike Benz?
Yeah, Brandy Zendrosny, or as Dustin calls her, Brandy Zamboni. She really doesn't like that guy. Just FYI. Heads up. But yeah, totally use it. She writes hit pieces on all of us, and they're usually wretched and lies. But Trash, I'm so happy you're here, and like we miss you. We've been praying for you, and like get well soon. But dude, seriously, Norm Eisen losing his security clearances, I was screaming. I was absolutely screaming.
I had to
Like
post about it.
I was like, you know what? So Avi had to comment on Norm Eisen's thing, and I was like, well, Norm, I tell you to go complain at a federal building, but awkward. So yeah.
So Jen, should we troll Norm Eisen with the statue?
Oh my God.
I called him.
Can't even deal.
Did you guys hear my call to him asking him about losing his security clearance? He hung up
I did.
No. Yeah, he's like, Jason, you'll have to remind me who you are. I was like, I'm the guy.
Oh, we're gonna have to play
outside
that
the courthouse who chased you down. Also, Brandy Zendrosny not only did a hit piece on me, she did a whole podcast to debunk, basically proving what I was saying. Remember that nurse when COVID vaccine was first being invented? That nurse, I forget her name, Tiffany something, took the shot on TV and then passed out. And I was like, hey, what happened to her? And was calling the hospital, went to the hospital, and Brandy Zendrosny went nuts on me, did a whole podcast about like, is this Tiffany, whatever, Dover, dead? And I was like, I never said she was dead. I said she appeared to suffer a vaccine injury, and then we never heard anything. Turns out it looks like she got a lot of money from Pfizer to not say anything to anybody, and Brandy just proved that.
And I want to remind people, Brandy worked for NBC News with Ben Collins. Right. Ben Collins and her, if there was anything that was coming out of if there was any kind of propaganda or any kind of narrative that needed to come out of the IC, it came through Brandy Zendrosny and Ben Collins. Ben Collins obviously left and then took over the Onion. We see how that's going. And so I suspect we're going to see something similar out of Brandy because she has no more power left. I suspect we'll probably see something very similar out of Molly Jong Fast as well. So we'll see. Just watch. Just watch. Enjoy and get some popcorn.
All right, so I want to clear the hands. I just asked people to be quick. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And then Barbie, do you have anything that you wanted to add?
On Mike. Oh no, I was just listening. It's very interesting. I love information that I don't know or haven't heard. I'm like taking notes so I can research people's names.
Well, and it also really helps to connect the dots, right? Because like Trash and I have been saying for years, like remember the names, remember the names, remember the names, remember the names. If you remember nothing else, just remember their names because you'll see how this web is weaving. And it's really it's using your tax dollars, which we really now know, right? We kind of knew, but like now we know they were using the tax dollars to fund the lawfare against President Trump. And so many times people are like, how is this happening? You're paying for it. You're actually paying for it. That's how it's happening. Right. So and we can't stand for this anymore. But if you like what you're hearing, retweet space. Appreciate everybody being here. If you want to come up on stage, please do just request a mic. And Dad, I see you down there. Sent you a mic. Come up for a second. I want you to like just have a second to talk about Michael Cohen stuff if you want. All right, let's go to Southern and Matt, and just be quick, guys. We have a lot of people on stage.
Okay. The thing that I found interesting about USAID and all that, I went back to what was the beginning USAID, 1961, John F. Kennedy. They saw as an opportunity to get into countries because John F. Kennedy was terrified of communism. So they went in with CIA attached, and this was their way to get in and get information. So we had communism as the boogeyman, but when the Cold War was over, now we had to move to another boogeyman, and that got implemented across. So this whole engine on a global level to do regime change by going in, focusing on the fringe people, build through, and then decapitate whoever's at the top and insert their person. They're doing the same thing here. I followed USAID through all the different evaluations. I'm so glad I found DataRepublican so I could do it faster. But there is an organization, media, global media. They have one job. They're doing all the negative media market activity in the countries they're looking to disrupt. That was the organization that set up everything to take down Donald Trump using the media, all their different tools. These tools were already in place. They had been used against us since the 60s. This wasn't new. This has been generations of building, and they've just gotten bigger and wider and have more money. And now they're being revealed. And that's exciting. I also, Jen, just real quick, I put in the purple pill, Norm Eisen, and all the donor lists because Brookings and Crew, there's some other interesting characters in there. You're right. Yeah, it is.
65 projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crew is a whole other space.
Oh my God, yes. But anyway, I put in the donor list. I will also put in the democracy playbook. I went back and read it again today. I'll put it in the purple pill. We have to educate ourselves, period, because we have to know the pieces on a chessboard, but we also have got to look at our Republicans better. Tom Cotton, Joni Ernst, Lindsey Graham, there's one more, Marco Rubio are part of IRI on the Republican side. I know Trump knows that.
Well, Marco Rubio resigned.
Yes, he did. And that was a big discussion. And I can't tell you how I know that. But
from that board?
I can't. One of my reasons.
Yeah, not from where Marco Rubio's right where he is. He's doing a great job.
No. Marco Rubio is the good angel. My question, though, is can we trust Tom Cotton? Because he's trying to derail Trump's pick, and we want this guy.
I would say absolutely.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion.
I don't trust Tom Cotton either, and I think he skews way too neocon for me. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that I saw in Eldridge Colby's background that I do not like. I am not saying he shouldn't be picked. I do trust Donald Trump. I trust JD Vance, and I trust Pete Hegseth. I fought Pete Hegseth. I think he's amazing.
And we trust.
But there's definitely big flags in Cohen.
But like anything that we're finding, it's not just the Democrat side, it's the Rhino side. And just one quick thing, Lindsey Graham just...
Guys, he worked for a firm that was opened by Anthony Blinken with John Brennan in it.
CFR Brennan.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
that's more than enough said there.
Yeah.
Great. Let Southern land her plane. Tash has got his hand up.
Okay. All right. And just real quick on Norm Eisen, Crowdsource, amazing job. I love the video when you went up and tried to interview him and he went flapping away like a wounded bird. It was hysterical. He looks so weak. You know, if he doesn't have power unless it's around him. He is not a man who stands on his own. He is a weak little man.
He's a weenie.
But I listened to him bragging on, and I think it was from you, Crowdsource. I was listening to it. All of a sudden, the volume went up in his voice about 2 minutes in. He likes to brag how powerful he is and what he does. He's a very weak, stupid man now. He said he picked all those judges. 2 judges had to kind of step back. Why? Their wives were taking money from USAID. Now we found out McConnell was taking money with another group he's part of. All these judges are all around the Norm Eisen box. Norm Eisen is doing this work, guys, picking the attorneys, the judges rather. And again, they're the judges who interpret law, not follow the law. And that's what we have right now. I'll land my plane, Jennifer.
Thanks, Southern. Appreciate you. Trash, I'm going to call on you, but do you have that video? I want Kim to play it for the room where Michael Cohen and Norm Eisen were on that podcast and Norm is congratulating Michael Cohen on starting this whole thing. But go ahead, Trash.
So that's actually one of the things I was going to bring up. That was actually what got Midas Touch to block me and then get all of their other cronies to block me as well. Midas Touch, if you guys don't know, obviously, left-wing group that is heavily, DNC and other left-wing.
Touches children.
Right. Midas Touch is a bad group. Anyway, this is what got them to block me because I unearthed this clip where it's Norm Eisen and Michael Cohen talking to each other. And this is Norm Eisen bragging about everything, about having the 10 impeachments ready to go as Trump took office, about how Michael Cohen tried to shop around the Stormy Daniels story and tried to get people to bite on it. And he basically convinced Norm to bite on it and then convinced him that, and that's what Norm said, you, my friend, are the one that got me to create 10 different impeachments ready to go before he even took office. So if you give me just 1 second, I just loaded my computer up. I've got it here. I know I've got it stored in my bookmark so I can access it quickly because you know how me with clips, I've always got tons of stuff. But let's go take a look. Let's see stuff. All right, save post for later. What's going on? Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. Oh, here we go. Perfect. I've got it right here. It's on. This was the Mea Culpa podcast with Michael Cohen. Midas Touch is actually the one that put this on their channel, and I found this. It was from January of 2024. Or, I'm sorry, it was probably earlier than that, but I found it May 20th of 2024. So here you go, right here. This is Michael Cohen and Norm Eisen bragging to each other. Listen to this.
You were the very first to warn me of all this, that Donald Trump was not, when I interviewed you right before you went to start serving your time, you stood up and did the right thing. You went to start serving your time in Otisville. I came to see you in New York, and when I was starting my impeachment work, and you showed me who Donald Trump really was. And one thing you said stuck with me, and it was the theme of 2023. It relates to this absolute immunity conversation we're having. It's going to be the biggest issue in the world in 2024. Like 2024 is going to be a historic year for the 3 millennia long history of democracy. You told me Donald Trump will never leave the White House voluntarily. Do not expect a peaceful transition of power. He is going to refuse to go if he loses. And that is still the issue, of course, that came to the fore. You helped me get ready. That's part of the debt of gratitude I have to you. You helped me get ready. That's why when I drafted, it's in my book. I write about you in my impeachment book, A Case for the American People, and I revealed for the first time we had 10 articles of impeachment. We only ended up using 2, but why? You inspired me to do 10 because you warned me, this guy is a dictator. And you were the first, Michael, you were the first full extent of Trump's danger to democracy, the first person who told me to my face. I went to talk to you about these hush money payments in 2016 election interference. By the way, we were ahead of the curve on that too, my friend.
I mean, there you go. There you go. It's right there. And so I don't know what else to say about this. This has been the setup from the beginning. Michael Cohen shopped the Stormy Daniels story around to people. Norm Eisen bit on it, then wrote 10 articles of impeachment before there was even one impeachment even brought forth, so they could be ready to go. And that was Norm Eisen speaking right there with Michael Cohen. I got a couple more clips with Michael Cohen speaking, which honestly, I don't think you guys need that mental illness today. But this is really probably the most important clip out of all of it. So there you go, Jen.
Thank you, Trash. I've been trying to paraphrase that clip for days, right? Because it really explains it. And then if you think about Michael Cohen being inserted in there from the beginning as a setup, right, by the Democrat Party, knowing that Donald Trump, because think about it, if all these people were chilling at Epstein's, right? And going to the Epstein parties, going to the Diddy parties, and whatever other parties we don't even know about in rich world land, right? And Donald Trump, right? He'd go to the party and then he'd leave, never partake in anything. They knew that they had nothing on him, and he didn't play their game from the very beginning. And they knew that he was always a threat, and that because of his popularity, because of The Apprentice, because of his real estate mogul status, right? He had the advantage of overcoming name recognition immediately, right? People knew who he was. He didn't need their money, right? He was independently wealthy. So they knew he would never put up with them doing this evil shit if he got into office. So they insert this guy, Michael Cohen, as his lawyer, his personal lawyer, after he came out of the Democrat law firm that set up the DNC, right? This is starting to paint a picture, right? And this is something my dad has said since 2009, right? My dad has said that Michael Cohen was a setup from the FBI, right? And at first I thought he was crazy, but now it makes complete sense. It makes absolute sense. And I know my dad witnessed this firsthand of Michael Cohen's shady shit in Donald Trump's office. So this is something that I feel really needs to get exposed, is that he was set up long before 2015. Kim, go ahead, and then we'll kick it off.
Well, real quick. Also, just don't forget what he said there too also was, you, my friend, were the one that convinced me that Donald Trump wouldn't leave office, that there would be no peaceful transfer of power. What he meant by that is, we know the steal is on. We knew this since March 3rd of 2020 because we did the Transition Integrity Project at the Cohen Institute out in LA with Nils Gilman and Rosa Brooks. And that was basically the playbook that they were going to use. And they were going to use one of those scenarios to make sure that the steal went through. And it was going to be in everybody's faces. And they knew that there's no way Donald Trump would accept this. Therefore, they needed to be able to set the narrative that Donald Trump's going to be an autocrat and that he's going to not peacefully transfer power once he was president to Joe Biden, because the steal was so plainly obvious. That's part of it too. That's also what they were talking about there too. Please don't forget that stuff.
man, they were covering all their bases. I mean, again, the intricacies and the way that they are able to just, departmentalize things, right? And categorize things and silo people. It's just insane. I wanted to say, Jen, I think we listened to the first part of that conversation earlier today, and Norm was much soberer in the earlier part, and I think he was repeating because at the end of the part,
No, those are two different clips, right? Because one is from clearly before the 2024 election, and what the other one is after the 2024 election.
Okay. I'll have to look and see what the outfits are, but it sounded, I mean, it was almost the exact conversation, but it was the more of the lead up to that. And then that's when he started going into that. So that's really interesting.
Well, that's Norm. One trick pony Norm.
Who runs like a bitch.
That's loaded and, repeating himself.
I'm so sorry, but Trash, I'm so glad you're doing better. I've been praying for you, and it's just, but I hear the exhaustion, and I just want you to take good care of yourself. Take good care of yourself, okay?
I appreciate it. No, I'll be fine. I'm getting my endurance back. I'm getting my stamina back. Doing some PT, some other kinds of therapies. So I should be good to go.
All right, let's go to Matt. Matt, you've been waiting. Go ahead.
Well, a couple of things, Jen. I don't know if you noticed, but I did put the DataRepublican post that y'all mentioned earlier up in the nest and in the bubble. I hope you don't mind. But second, that clip that y'all played of Norm Eisen earlier, not the one Trash played, the one that Cyber played, was that prior to or after the assassination attempt? Because you said it was in July.
Well, do you want to replay that other clip, Adam?
The one with Michael Cohen, or
yeah, the mea culpa.
Oh,
the mea culpa one that you played
that was,
earlier. Because I had never heard this clip before, Trash.
Yeah, it was really interesting because I knew
because I
exactly
thought he was going to play the one you just played, and all of a sudden he started playing it, and I'm like, wait a second, I've never heard this.
Bring Cyber back on stage.
The other thing is I up in the nest, I did put the garbage fail of Ben Collins and of Brandy Zamboni.
That's Kim. That's hilarious. That pick is hilarious. I gotta say.
We got to do a garbage fail feds.
Garbage fail feds. Hey, no, Rose, jump in here.
Hey guys.
Adam, where's cyber paper?
Hey guys. DOGE,
yes,
DOGE just exposed the Treasury Department for not tracing $4.7 trillion. Oh,
lovely.
What's 4.7 trillion? I mean, come on.
That's
$3,000. Hold on. So we went from millies to billies. Now we're in the trillies. Yo, I've been waiting on the trills. That's what's up.
Trills for real.
Every trillion dollars is $3,000 in your pocket. Okay, guys. So I figured it out last night. I did the math.
Thrills for trills.
Hegseth will be bringing the trills. You'll see.
Go ahead, Barbie.
Can you say that one more time? Every $1 billion is how much in our pocket?
Every $1 trillion is $3,000.
Otis,
to every single American in this country. Even I went like more just because I wanted to round up. But yeah, it's about $3,000.
Wow.
So Norm Eisen's attorney-client privilege hasn't been revoked or nothing, has it? Just to clarify. No.
Right.
It's
so
still
literally,
yeah.
Right. But he also planned a overthrow of the United States through a color revolution that's usually frowned upon,
aka a coup.
Jen and Trash, you guys, I didn't know Obama and Eisen went to Harvard together.
So did Rosa Brooks, and Rosa Brooks was the head of Obama's drone program before she took over this lawfare Transition Integrity Project election stuff. She was
Holy
ahead of
shit.
his drone program. They all went
Now it
together.
makes sense.
Yep.
Now it
Yep.
makes sense. They were probably gay lovers too.
They probably passed the peace pipe
We
or
should
whatever.
read that. We should read that Pete Sessions letter because it sums it up pretty quickly. Rosa Brooks. Ugh.
Well, where's the Pete Sessions letter? And where's the Norm Eisen clip?
Cyber Patriot.
Yeah, you got to bring them up on stage. I think we got a full
Okay,
stage.
well, you
too.
have to request. Okay, I'm not going to sit there and
Oh,
search. For the
I
Cyber
requested.
Patriot
It's
account.
probably just not going through.
I don't see you.
Here, let me refresh.
Jen, you want me to drop?
Yeah, Matt, if you could drop, that would be awesome. So we have a space for the Cyber Patriot. I'm going to let Rose go real quick while we get this figured out.
Yeah, and after that, this clip, I don't think a lot of people have ever heard. And it's going to be highly disturbing regarding the structure of what he was doing pre-election.
Are you talking about the one we're going to play? Or
it's not the
This is the one
Mia
she sent me.
No, this is with the now AG of Connecticut, and they talk through the guy from Connecticut, the AG, the Asian guy, how they worked with various states, now Governor Shapiro, etc., to structure some things. I wanted to comment on that, but it's something that a lot of people haven't heard. I have a feeling.
All right, I'll play that following this clip with Michael Cohen. This is Midas Touch as well as Mea Culpa, and I'll let it rip. Just give me 2 seconds. Got to unmute and
that tell people stop doing this, right? That this isn't good for our democracy. They've been silent as to this entire issue, and that in and of itself should be an indictment upon the party.
Unfortunately, you'll remember that in Gangs of New York, there was the Protestant Confederation of American Natives. That was Bill the Butcher's gang. And then there were the immigrant dead rabbits. Fortunately, the champions of democracy in this cycle are far from dead rabbits. Okay, democracy and its advocates are fighting back in court, in the court of public opinion, by talking about the issues. The press, thankfully, is not treating election denialism as if, the Republicans say Trump didn't win the election, and the Republicans say Trump actually won. The Democrats say Biden won. No, even the press calls it a conspiracy theory, election denial. So we know the American people care about democracy, and I think folks need to get out and vote as if our democracy were on the ballot, because it is, Michael. If the followers of Trump, if his acolytes are able to occupy these election offices, they will represent a threat to our democracy. So folks need to keep that in mind. And again, just me, it's just Norm's personal views. They need to exercise their franchise, irrespective of party.
Could you imagine, how could you not be angered? The fact that something as routine as an election has now gone so off the rails that there are conspiracy theories before the election even takes place. You have activists preventing people from voting the way they want. There's already questions as to the number of mail-in ballots that will or will not be counted because there are new individuals that are in charge of this. It brings me to my next question, Norm. During the 2020 election, It was the courts that saved democracy. This time around, it's kind of like anyone's guess, right? What if any measures have been taken to ensure that we have a free and fair election? I mean, are we ready for MAGA shenanigans and the, we'll call it the Steve Bannon precinct strategy? And then how about election deniers, like I said with Carrie Lake, who will lose their races? Are there guardrails in place, if at all, if things go wrong?
We made it through the 2020 election when you had the election denier in chief, the number one election denier in the White House with all the power of the presidency. So I think the same tools and structures that got us through 2020 successfully, as you point out, the courts played a role, but it wasn't only the courts, it was election officials of both parties, even those of Trump's own party who stood up to him. In Georgia, look, he's still furious at Kemp and Raffensperger. And yet the amazing thing, Michael, they both survived their primaries. So that, by and large, this is the first cycle in which the Trump following election deniers have tried to get in. I don't think they're going to be so successful in doing that. And here's why. Let me tell you the guardrails. Number one, there's the Constitution. When people try truly outrageous, like if some partisan governor wants to recognize one of these election deniers who didn't actually win, the Constitution, the laws, and as you point out, the courts do not allow that. Second, I do think, having lived through 2020, the press is much more vigilant. Michael, when you warned me that Donald Trump would not leave the White House without a fight, as you said, he'd never leave without being forced out. You were one of the first people to get me to focus. This was way before the impeachment. This was in the beginning of 2019. So you were almost 2 years ahead of the curve. And then through the impeachment, I saw the kind of person he was. I reprinted your warning in my book on the impeachment. Now we've been through it once, so people have their guard up. And I think, we're really going to count on the voters. I think the vast majority of Americans reject this election denial idea that Trump actually won in 2020. And the implications of that, if you'll embrace a baseless claim like that in a past election, what might you do in a future election? I think the American people aren't going to like that. So ultimately, yes, the Constitution, the laws, judges, elections officials to do the right thing. And ultimately, the American people are going to have to do the right thing.
This is Brian Tu, former U.S. Department of Defense contractor. I also went to law school for 3 years, so I have some idea about attorney-client privilege. But I want to talk about something first, preface what I'm going to say with, if you want to know the truth, you want to know what's going on, you Google CIA neuroscientist, Dr. Robert Duncan. Not Dr. Robert Duncan, because you'll get a lot of people named Dr. Robert Duncan. You Google CIA neuroscientist, Dr. Robert Duncan. He was assassinated 6 months ago by the CIA in his apartment in Boise, Idaho, that killed him with a pulse of energy. He was told to shut up, and he refused, and they killed him for it. But his work lives on, but it's hard to find because the algorithms are set up where you can't just get it. You can't just do an easy search for him. So if you Google CIA neuroscientist Dr. Robert Duncan, you'll find the truth. But I'm going to give you the long and short of it right now. I was also interviewed. He was interviewed by Discovery Channel. I was also interviewed by Discovery Channel and Firecracker Films and Hotel Intercontinental in Managua, Nicaragua in 2014 about what I'm going to tell you now. Okay? Everything you're seeing, everything they do is a game of deception and manipulation from start to finish. You do not accept anything they say is truth. You do not accept anything the AI supercomputer mentally interrogates you about as truth. There's an easy way to tell, okay, if you're already a victim of this technology. If you go into a black room, you turn off all the lights, you lay down on the bed, you close your eyes, and you're seeing constant streaks and flashes of light, it's already too late for you. You're already
Wait, what does this have to do
You're
with
already
Okay.
remotely tied.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Hold on, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, like I'm not questioning the validity of what you're saying, and I appreciate what you did for the country. Are you a whistleblower? Because you said you were a contractor, and I hope at this point, anything you know, you're going to become a whistleblower. Because if not, like
I am a low
kind
level.
of implements you.
I
to
am
be
not.
completely honest.
Yeah, I was a low level contractor, no one of real importance. I secretly recorded the American FBI.
I've heard that a bunch. I've really heard that a bunch. And when someone leads off that they're a contractor for the government, especially in this day and age, kind of throws up red flags for me, to be completely honest. And the fact that you came in and completely derailed the room and started talking about directed energy weapons, that's another red flag for me, sir. So I'm gonna like slow your roll. You can stay on stage, but we're not going down that topic right now. We are putting a huge sign on Norm Eisen, and we're going to go after those people right now.
What I'm
because
trying-
there's nothing I can do
Talk
about a directed
psychological
energy weapon.
tactics, huh? All right, calm down, dude. Let Jen continue.
That's exactly what I was talking about. I was trying
I'm
to talk
talking
about that.
you being a psychological tactic.
So I'm
yourself.
usually-
You're
I'm u-
derailing the conversation. Just please stop.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate you.
Muted him.
I'm
I
usually
don't
blocked
like
or
him.
disrupted. It's
Okay.
nothing new. Every call I get on, I get blocked or disrupted because they have to
Okay,
stop
Hold
me.
on, Brian. No one is like. Maybe it's just the tactic or the way you framed your argument. Like, you are more than welcome to stay here and be part of the discussion. And I would even be open to doing another space about what you're bringing forward, right? But you've also walked into a space where we've been going for a bunch of hours talking about one topic. And
Well,
that's
I was
all I'm
leading
getting at.
into your subject. I went to law school for 3 years. I have some idea.
Okay, so go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you're wasting your time. You can't stop what's coming.
You're
You can't
wasting our
stop it.
time, my dude.
You can't stop it.
Okay.
Look,
Are
we
you
just
serious?
crash left because of this.
Whoever your
idiot.
handler is, tell him to fuck off and we're not playing your games anymore. And you're more than welcome to leave the stage now and don't let the door hit you on the way out. And if I were you, I'd become a whistleblower because you're going to be brought into all this. And I don't care how low level you are, you piece of shit.
Yeah, no, I
Right.
can't stand that. So I'm booted him. He can listen and he can be sorry, but that's ridiculous. There is a little bit of decorum in here, Brian. Don't.
No,
That's
the
why
video
nobody
just
listens
ended
to
and
you.
he jumped off mic and completely to derail what was just said in that video there.
Well,
that was his
also,
purpose.
That was his purpose.
Yeah.
And that's why he gets booted at every room he tries to go and talk in, is because of what you just saw on full display. All right, who was next?
Goddamn derailers. Anyways, Norm Eisen just gave the keys to the kingdom away. So yeah, there's that. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting just frustrated.
Send Norm our regards there, buddy.
Well, so can I want to go back to the video. Can we like, what were the key points that you took away from that, Jen?
Hold on to that thought for a second. Rose, don't you think it's weird that he led with directed energy weapons?
That's what I have to say about that.
It's to shoot down the validity of this conversation we're having here.
Because they're working on a narrative on that. They've been working on it for some time, and they have convinced some. That is a narrative. That is an influence campaign. That is something that they're projecting. And there are people in our intel community and those who play this game are participating in it. And people are making money on it because they started an org, right? They're getting, all these players are getting paid off by the HHS. Think about that. And we're talking about not exactly the best of the best players who are part of the anti-Trump / censorship / uh, undermining Trump in a major way during his administration. So, yeah, everybody watched that 60 Minutes shit that happened last night? Or, yeah, was it last night?
I don't watch 60 Minutes.
Wait, what? No.
No.
What happened?
60 Minutes, no, the 60 Minutes stories that came out about USAID, and then you had the German thought police.
I saw that. I saw clips of that. Thought
Yeah,
police.
okay. So, I mean, they pulled that hit together real fast. Or maybe one was in the can. I think that, No, but I just want to say, at this point, anything 60 Minutes does is an op. That's, I'm sorry, but it's true. I mean, they are the mouthpiece of
disinformation,
narrative campaigns, right? That's what they do. And they push whatever they want to push out there to, counter something or reinforce something or get something out there. And I'm doing a lot of research on Havana and the 60 Minutes and the Der Spiegel connection with Internews and the people in some of the foreign affairs, USAID circle. And then you have basically every bad operative, anti-Trump. It's really, it's not. That's all I'm going to say. And people who really believe that we're all going to get, well, here's the problem. It exists. That technology does exist. But what do they do when they want to set something up? Okay. I'm just saying. So, and then have the boogeyman get blamed. So you
could go digging down the rabbit hole of dark Tesla technology like oscillators and things like that could evaporate buildings and all that good stuff. But that's off the topic here. But that's the whole thing.
No, I'm saying that the individuals that are featured, just like how they found out about who these people were, they were the speech writers, they worked for Samantha Power, blah, blah, blah. They got found out real quick. Do some profile. I have it all, and I've never really done a huge space on it, but I should. Just look at it.
Well, thank you, No Rose.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'm done. But I'm just waiting for that other clip to play because
I got your clip queued up, ready to go whenever Jen calls on me to play it. I don't know if there's any other
just call. Let's do the clip and then go to Sally.
Can I just say something real quick? Because what I think you need to recap.
Go ahead,
that.
Sally.
I just need you to recap what that last clip was. Because I'm sorry, I didn't even know when the clip started and that guy started talking because their voices were so similar.
The whole point.
So they was very successful in whatever he just did, and I've been listening the whole entire time.
Exactly. That's why I turned into mega bitch. Adam, why don't we just
recap it?
Replay that first?
Yeah,
clip?
just to spite that guy, I will. Most definitely. That sounds like a great idea. You guys ready? Here we go.
That tell people stop doing this, right? That this isn't good for our democracy. They've been silent as to this entire issue. And that in and of itself should be an indictment upon the party.
Unfortunately, you'll remember that in Gangs of New York, there was the Protestant Confederation of American Natives. That was Bill the Butcher's gang. And then there were the immigrant dead rabbits. Fortunately, the champions of democracy in this cycle are far from dead rabbits. Okay, democracy and its advocates are fighting back in court.
in the court of public opinion by talking about the issues. The press, thankfully, is not treating election denialism as if, oh, you know, the Republicans say Trump didn't win the election, and the Republicans say Trump actually won. The Democrats say Biden won. No, even the press calls it a conspiracy theory, election denial. So we know the American people care about democracy, and I think folks need to get out and vote as if our democracy were on the ballot, because it is, Michael. If the followers of Trump, if his acolytes are able to occupy these election offices, they will represent a threat to our democracy. So folks need to keep that in mind. And again, just me, it's just Norm's personal views. They need to exercise their franchise, irrespective of party.
Could you imagine? How could you not be angered? The fact that something as routine as an election has now gone so off the rails that there are conspiracy theories before the election even takes place. You have activists preventing people from voting the way they want. There's already questions as to the number of mail-in ballots that will or will not be counted because there are new individuals that are in charge of this. It brings me to my next question, Norm. During the 2020 election, it was the courts that saved democracy. This time around, it's kind of like anyone's guess, right? What, if any, measures have been taken to ensure that we have a free and fair election? I mean, are we ready for MAGA shenanigans and the, we'll call it the Steve Bannon precinct strategy? And then how about election deniers, like I said with Carrie Lake, who lose their races? Are there guardrails in place, if at all, if things go wrong?
We made it through the 2020 election when you had the election denier in chief, the number one election denier in the White House with all the power of the presidency. So I think the same tools and structures that got us through 2020 successfully, as you point out, the courts played a role, but it wasn't only the courts. It was election officials of both parties, even those of Trump's own party who stood up to him. In Georgia, look, he's still furious at Kemp and Raffensperger. And yet the amazing thing, Michael, they both survived their primaries. So that, by and large, this is the first cycle in which the Trump following election deniers have tried to get in. I don't think they're going to be so successful in doing that. And here's why. Let me tell you the guardrails. Number one, there's the Constitution. When people try truly outrageous, like if some partisan governor wants to recognize one of these election deniers who didn't actually win, the Constitution, the laws, and as you point out, the courts do not allow that. Second, I do think, having lived through 2020, the press is much more vigilant. Michael, when you warned me Donald Trump would not leave the White House without a fight, as you said, he'd never leave without being forced out. You were one of the first people to get me to focus. This was way before the impeachment. This was in the beginning of 2019. So you were almost 2 years ahead of the curve. And then through the impeachment, I saw the kind of person he was. I reprinted your warning in my book on the impeachment. Now we've been through it once, so people have their guard up. And I think, we're really going to count on the voters. I think the vast majority of Americans reject this election denial idea that Trump actually won in 2020. And the implications of that, if you'll embrace a baseless claim like that in a past election, what might you do in a future election? I think the American people aren't going to like that. So ultimately, yes, the Constitution, the laws, judges,
elections officials to do the right thing, and ultimately the American people are going to have to do the right thing.
All right. So that's pretty much the main point of it. There is what they were saying is that Michael Cohen back in the beginning of 2019 was saying this, right? Jennifer, you want to add to that in regards to what was covered in that conversation, or Sally, do you want to kick back?
Sally probably does.
Yeah, it's more than just admitting that, but did you notice how they said the judges? We won this with the help of the judges. Without the judges, we would not have won, right? And so it's almost like they're already telling you that we have judges in our pockets. They better stay in line, right? It's like a warning, and it's like kind of telling on themselves. I don't know if anyone else caught that or if I'm just crazy.
Yeah, you're on point, Sally. And on top of that, he was asking him, what are you going to do in advance? We had the judges then, and it's like now it's on the people. So then that leads to all the Sunrise Movement, all these other things that they tabletopped, what they were going to do if Trump won or if Trump lost. And then, the resistance, if he challenged the election. All this is just like a tangled web, right? 100%. Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, Adam, I was just going to add, I mean, he even says when he says, what guardrails do you have in place, right? Those guardrails are probably, I would venture to say, not legal, right? But those are the things that Norm Eisen set up in order to keep this lawfare coup from derailing, right? So when he says guardrails, like that's a nice that's putting a very like nice rosy glasses on the fact like those things probably shouldn't even be there in the first place. But Norm, because he wrote a lot of the laws, right? Because he is legal counsel for a bunch of these NGOs, he's able to like wiggle and maneuver and especially put people in positions where he know as a lawyer, he would be able to argue them either in court or get them on appeal, right? So like he is so insidious in this process. And up until a little while ago, like no one was bringing up his name, right? Like they did, but look to the January 6th stuff, right? Norm Eisen and Benny Thompson, right after they did Crew, started the group States United for Democracy. And on that board, there's 3 or 4 former heads of the National Security Agency, the NSA, or correct me if I'm wrong, if someone has that fact, but look it up, right? 3 former heads, including like Napolitano. Who else was on the list? There's a couple, big names, right? And he co-founded it with the lady who told the FDNY firefighters that the air was safe following 9/11. This is who co-founded this organization. And what they were able to do through that organization is absolutely unbelievable. And the fact that it's stacked with people from the security agencies, right? And how is he able just to operate, right? Like that's always been my question. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Benny Thompson. So with States United for Democracy, sorry, I totally blanked it and it came back to me. Benny Thompson, who had ended up heading the January 6th committee, right? Right after January 6th, Norm Eisen wrote up a lawsuit for Benny Thompson that was brought in DC. In that lawsuit was the first time that they laid out the January 6th fake insurrection narrative that they were going to run with, that Donald Trump was working with the Proud Boys, right, in order to take over the Capitol building that day, right? And what happened with that lawsuit? Well, it was dropped. And the reason it was dropped is because Benny Thompson went and worked for the January 6th committee, where Norm Eisen, on his coattails, influenced the January 6th committee to run with that narrative. You want to know who was running the January 6th committee? Norm Eisen, right? So like, it's not just directly against Donald Trump, right? He has his hands in everything. Go ahead, Adam. You want to play that second clip?
Yeah, there's about like 4 minutes left of this clip. Since we haven't heard it before, let's just finish it, and then we'll jump over to the next clip. What do you think? Okay, I got the thumbs up.
That's what we hope. Now, of course, me being more the pessimist than you is the ultimate, optimist here. I see it a little bit different. So I saw, for example, a Politico Morning Consult poll. And in that poll, it shows a majority of Americans, and this is in support of what you say, support altering the way Congress certifies elections to make it more difficult to override presidential election results. Yeah. Okay.
That's the good news. That's the good
great news. Here's the bad news onto it, right? It's only 52% of the respondents, right, say that they support this legislation. 52% of the 100, so you got 52% there, 22% are opposed to that notion, and 26% are opposed to that notion, and then 22% have no opinion. What? You have no opinion? You have no opinion whether or not that when they call the election, that the system works, that it shouldn't be, the loser shouldn't be capable of trying to overturn an election? I mean, when you have only 53% of the respondents in agreement, that's a real problem. At least it's a problem.
The
the way
numbers,
I see it.
yes, but I wouldn't overread into one particular poll or into polls generally. On the one particular poll point, Michael, remember that just a few weeks back, we got that NBC News poll when they asked Americans to rank what was the most important issue. You remember the number one issue, democracy.
Number one issue. Well,
depending on how the poll questions are phrased, depending on whether the poll respondents are really listening, what else is going on in the world that day? Do they understand? Do people understand? Maybe some of the people who answered that question thought that it was a pro-Trump question, that we were trying to weaken Trump's ability. So,
Norm, I got to be honest with you, that poll didn't have democracy as number one. It actually had the economy as number one, which is also scary.
NBC News poll had democracy as the number one issue. Now, yes, most other polls, you're right. The economy has come back into the fore. Gas prices, other economic factors were moderating over the summer. There's some counter trends now. But Michael, we've learned over the years, you can't, these polls can be misleading, right? They can surprise you both directions. I think people should vote as if their democracy depends on it, because it does. So I'm not dissuaded in any way. I hear your realism. It's not pessimism, it's realism. But I think that the American people are capable, certainly, of pushing back on some of the worst. And some of these election deniers will make it through. But, some of the worst of them are running way behind, Michael, way behind the Republican Party. So we need to study that data when the election is over. And even if a few make it through here and there, if they underperform, then that will tell us that the American people don't like denialism. If regular Republicans, as was said in the 1-6 hearing, Team Normal outperform Team Crazy, that will be sending us an important message, regardless of how Democrats fare overall.
Wow. That was quite a follow-up to the rest of that piece there. Jen, did you want to jump to the other one, or did anyone want to put some feedback on that, what they just heard? In regards to the polls, they made a good point. Don't believe the polls, and that's what we did tell people throughout the elections. Don't believe the polls. Nikki Haley trending, all this stuff. It was polls are polls. who are they sampling, so on and so forth. They had what's her name, Harris, leading in the polls. Like, what polls were they taking? It's
It still makes me laugh, if I can add to this, because working for the campaign, we got leaked numbers from the Harris camp, and they always showed them 3 to 7 points behind us. And that was leaked from their camp to us. And I just think that is hysterical. That's why I was like, don't look at the polls. Nope. Nope.
Well, and now we know they were all getting money from the U.S. government.
From the U.S. government, exactly, to push it. Oh, man, all of this just makes me sick.
No, it's bad. It's bad. Hey, guys, I see people down in the request queue. So if I move you down, just re-request and we'll bring you back up. Just want to get more people on stage. So, okay. Evie, go, and then we will go back to Adam and Cyber Patriot.
Hey, thank you so much. And thank you for bringing me up. So I know Jen and Jack actually have done excellent job on going after Norm and exposing him and putting things together. My question is, how and when are they, like, shutting down USAID is one thing, because obviously we stopped the money going, mostly to George Soros and, his organizations. But what do you guys think? Are they going to take it a step further and go after and just bring these guys in front of justice? Like, I literally want to see George Soros face justice for everything that he's done, from stealing money from the American people, from destroying democracies overseas, destroying democracy here at home. And Norm should be a very easy target. I mean, Elon should go after him legally. But are we going to see these guys ever in prison or not? What's your take?
I hope so. Right? But like, realistically, I mean, they committed treason against our country. What is the penalty for treason?
Yep.
I don't know if we're allowed to say it.
I hope they follow through with this, because for people like us that knew what was going on, to be honest with you, I never thought that I was going to see the day and witness what Elon Musk is doing right now with DOGE and going after all of them. But I also never thought I'm going to see the day, because these people, literally, somebody needs to pay. This is not just we're cutting down and we're shutting down the department. We need to see some of these people in jail, so nobody else is going to try to put this.
Well, so Evie, one thing on that, right? Like, first of all, it's like we're just like a month in. We've gotten like you just pointed out with DOGE, like none of us really probably ever thought we'd be able to just, have government's books open jump. Okay. Like, and if you did, like, God bless you. Like, I don't know. Right. But we're only a month in. Right. And although we have like mountains of evidence against these people, right, it still does need to be done in the proper way that our justice system allows for right now, right? Because if we don't, then it'll come back that you're going after your political opponents, the international community will get involved, right? But if you are blindly handing out justice, right, for the acts that we have evidence that you committed, right? Like, then that's black and white. Like, you commit the crime, you should do the time, right? Isn't that what they told us? You don't do the crime if you can't commit, like, pay the time, right? So, like, if that's what blind justice needs to happen, that's one thing, right? But Norm brought up something in that clip that's really powerful, right? Is the court of public opinion, right? Which I would argue is actually more powerful than the court of law, because the court of law is persuaded by the court of public opinion, right? And if you don't think it is, whether you like it or not, right? Like, the outrage, right? The outrage that people have in the court of public opinion. And part of this, right, part of this process is also cutting off their money supply. If they don't have money, they can't function, right? Then when people don't have money, they start doing dumb things. Like, I don't know, having the top Google result as criminal defense lawyer, and the second one is how to move my money out of the country to the Canary Islands, right? Like, you start doing dumb things and let them get caught up, right? So as long as people are doing their job, because we're also fighting a two-front war right now. It's not like Donald Trump got into office and all the lawfare stopped and everything stopped, and he can just solely concentrate on making the country a better place. He doesn't get that opportunity, unfortunately, right? Because he is getting hit from all sides, and they're literally saying there's active death threats against him, right? So, like, he's dealing with so much. So if we can get them to a point where we know who they are, who they work for, who the kingpins are, let's take it into the court of public opinion until the law carries out what it needs to do. But these people shouldn't be able to operate in the shadows, right? These people shouldn't be able to walk down the street without getting shouted down as traitors to our country. You committed treason against our country. That's a you problem, not a me problem. Okay? If you don't like the punishment, well, then maybe you should, I don't know, try to get to a non-extradition country, whatever you got to do. But guess what?
We're working on it.
Or guess what? You can't run from the United States, baby. Okay? So, like, let's not play this game. You committed the crime. We won. Now it's our turn, right? If you were going to take Vienna, you should have taken Vienna and you missed. Go ahead, Insurrection Barbie.
I think the court of public opinion argument is probably the best one we have. And that's probably, it's 100% the best one we have. Because let's be honest, it's not like, I know people want to see indictments come down tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Like, we need to work with what we have. But the court of public opinion is a really good one. And I think that people don't even know how bad it is. They don't even realize that our lives are controlled by like 6 NGOs that are part of the same like umbrella with the same 500 people in all of DC. You know what I mean? Like, exposing that and hammering it home every single day delegitimizes all of their claims. I think that's the best option and the most effective one.
I completely agree with you, right? And they don't have the media to back them up this time, right? It's where we were in 2020.
It sounds so bad when you say like 20 lawsuits against Donald Trump. 20 lawsuits from the same 5 groups with the same overlapping board of directors brought by the same 5 people, you know, they found in the federal government. That doesn't sound bad. That sounds like a conspiracy against our current government. You know what I mean? Like, that's the angle I think we should approach it from. Like you said, exposure is the best.
And also remember, guys, like, this isn't just an America thing. Right? These people were working simultaneously in foreign countries to overthrow duly elected leaders of foreign countries in the name of quote unquote democracy.
Hey,
right?
I have proof on stuff like this overseas, by the way. I really do.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
so like
tons of it.
We have the evidence. So it's not only America, right? So that's why I'm saying you can't run. Right? Like, this is an international problem, right? And whether any of us like it, there is an international court, people. Okay? There is, whether we control it or not is another question, right? We're going to have to handle that when it comes. But Fauci, right? Norm Eisen, all of these people were operating in other countries, right? And this isn't just a 2020 thing, right? When we were doing undercover reporting for Breitbart in 2016, I met with someone who was literally a professional anarchist. And this guy goes around to different countries. He had just come out of like Algeria or somewhere like that in Africa. And he's like, yeah, so we get paid by George Soros, right? He didn't know who I was at the time. Told me all this. We get paid by George Soros to be like the almost like the shock crew, right? They go in and they start the violence, right? That's why you see the bricks piled up in places where they know riots are going to take place, right? So, because when you get a group of people, and this is what they tried to do on January 6th, if you get a group of people all committing a crime, but the entire group is doing it, people will join in and not think about it, right? It's a psychology thing they're using against us, right?
That's where they said Ray Epps is a Fed, right? But he whispered in that guy's ear. He wasn't a Fed. he could have been an operative for one of these NGOs.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why all these people are able to sue and everything else, because they've set it up that if you don't go about it the right way, you're going to get sued for defamation because you're going after the wrong thing.
Even
you
the
went after the
Federate Front,
obvious thing.
right? The Patriot Front group, right? That's another NGO. Could
They
be.
could be NGOs. I mean,
Right,
I
could
like
be.
calling them feds because I think it's funny.
Yeah,
right?
I do
But
too.
like maybe they're not feds. I don't know. But
Yeah.
like either way, you're taking daddy government dollars somewhere. So like that kind of makes you a fed. I don't
Federal
know.
dollars, yo.
So, but yeah, I don't even know what I was saying. Okay, let's go back to Evie, close up, and then we'll go to Sally.
Yeah, one last question, very quick. How
Oh wait,
about-
I'm sorry, Miss Lou hasn't spoke yet. We'll go Miss Lou, then Sally.
Okay.
Go ahead, Evie.
Okay, so very quick. What about the billions that John McCain's IRI has been collecting over the years, and which is the reason why most of these people were rhinos? But when we're going to ask questions about all the money that went to his organizations.
I think Trash brought that up earlier, right? With the IRI. Was that Tom Cotton and who else is involved in it? That were kind of like...
Well, John McCain was, I'm pretty sure, the founder of it many years ago. And they said, oh, we're going to work overseas and help the conservatives and so on. And it doesn't seem they help as much as we thought they were going to help. When I went to Albania, they were telling me about this. And I'm like, I have no idea what IRI is. They are like, oh, it's John McCain's thing. And they do good. But there are two issues in here: how they affected the politics overseas, and where did the money go? It's too much money. 110 million per year for this is
it got funneled back to the United States through Act Blue and political donations.
Exactly. So that's how this has been set up for years and years. And these are the rhinos that we have been calling them rhinos, and nobody could understand why would they side with the Democrats. Here is the answers. And you know what? Trump was right when he said what he said about John McCain. That's all it is to it.
100%. Thanks, Evie. All right, Miss Lou, jump in here.
Hey, Jen. Hey, Savvy. Kimberly, thank you so much for the mic and all my friends here. Listen, real quick. Julie Kelly got on tonight. I believe she was on with Bannon, and she brought a very interesting case that started up with Judge, and you may have been speaking about this already. I don't know. Judge Chutkan is pulling out the appointments clause that Elon Musk was not properly submitted to Congress. You see, remember, this is the one that Eileen Cannon went against Jack Smith for because he was illegally appointed to do his work by Biden. Now they're turning the tables and saying Elon Musk was illegally appointed to do what he's doing by Donald Trump, and they're breaking the appointments clause. And right now what she's doing, and she is working on President's Day, look at her, she's filing a motion for a stay, a temporary stay, to listen to, I believe, 5 Democrat states, of course, Illinois, California, New York, and some others, who have said that stopping the funding and getting rid of the federal employees is hurting their states. They're not getting their money. So, this is all about money. It's not follow the money. So she's going to do a stay, which is going to temporarily stop Elon from digging. We don't know how soon this can get to SCOTUS, because that's the ultimate goal, obviously. This whole thing has to be shut down at the Supreme Court. You've got Mark Elias, you've got Eisen, and you've got Mark Zaid. And those 3 alone are the devil's work. I'm telling you, they are gearing for blood, and they know what they're doing. Not that Trump doesn't have a perfect team too. Mike Davis was on also saying, this is all bullshit. But the point is that someone like Chutkan in New York can stop Elon Musk temporarily, which buys them time to get their case together that that Trump is violating the appointments clause. And it's already been set in motion because of Jack Smith. So this is warning. Thank you for the mic.
Welcome, Miss Lou, and thank you for that information. Appreciate it. And my question is, and I wish Trennis Evans was here, I'm pretty sure that Congress has the ability to impeach Chutkan, don't they?
I hope so.
Barbie, do you know? Go ahead, Barbie. Can anyone hear Barbie, or is it just me?
No,
I cannot hear Barbie.
No, I can't either.
Okay.
I think, let me just give an opinion, and I'm not factual, but I think because she's a federal judge, that it has to go before the Department of Justice, and then they can research that would require her censure from the bench, or I don't know about impeachment, but there's certain actions that they could take to stop what she's doing right now. But that also may be pushed forward, and Barbie's got her hand up. I'm going to leave. To get it before SCOTUS. It has to get before the Supreme Court. All of this has to. We've got to stop the cabal.
Before Barbie goes, I have a friend that is an attorney who did a video on this. I will find it because he explains how you can remove judges and impeach them. So I'll put that down below.
Go ahead, Barbie.
As far as whether or not DOGE is legal, the Trump team actually went off of an old Obama executive order that was based on technology, how to get the right technology into the government. It's a very convoluted, complicated thing, but basically the DOGE team is 100% legal, and it's definitely not going to hold any weight on appeal before like a judge who's not partisan, because Obama did the same exact thing. They literally went off an Obama executive order.
They took that
I actually
department
have
and
more
turned
to
it
add
into
to
DOGE,
that.
right?
Can I add to that, because it actually goes further than that. Actually, Ronald Reagan, and I have this in my notes somewhere. Oh my gosh. Ronald Reagan had formed, oh shoot, where is it? I'm so sorry. As soon as Barbie started talking, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get this. So hold please.
While you look, can I go real quick? Is that okay? I have a client coming in just a second.
Yes.
The last night. Okay, go ahead. I'll stop.
The Grace Commission, and that was by President Reagan. He had and he formed the President's Council on Integrity and Efficiency and the Council on President's Administration, which had the same tasks as DOGE. Okay, go ahead, Sally.
Sorry. So last night I had a space, and I had someone, somehow we got, of course, we always end up on USAID, but we had someone from Nigeria come in, and he was, I think like a 20-minute rant. It is recorded, but he was just saying how they had funded both sides of the wars, and they were watching from helicopters and planes dropping aid and supplies into these various things, and how none of the money went to the people that needed it, but all to subvert their democratically elected leaders that they wanted in office and put someone else in. But the good news is, through all this, he wasn't like blaming the like us as citizens of the United States, yet just the corrupt individuals, which is very refreshing. He's like, we are motivated. We are going to go to the streets. We're going to put leaders in place that's going to stop this. Some good people. So it's kind of lit a fire. I thought it was going to cause more division and hate, and it still might, but it's lit a fire under their ass, which I was really like kind of pumped about. So anyway, I just wanted to
Is he in the U.S., Sally, that guy that you're talking to?
No, he's in Nigeria. I followed him because I actually want to do a space, because what he had to say is probably like a 2-hour, 3-hour space. But he had tons and tons of information. He himself is going to run for office. He says, I'm just networking because we're going to change Nigeria from the inside. We're going to do what the United States has done. We want a constitution like they have. We want to live like them. So it was like really kind of cool. But yeah, so it was all, he explained the whole aid in their country and how it impacted them as far as their elections and their people.
Well, they've been used to go conquer other regions of Africa as well, Somalia and stuff like that. So the Nigerians.
Yeah, he explained all that as well. So he'd be a good one to have on.
I think this is the same guy, possibly. I told him,
What is his name?
Man, you got to go. He's like, is America going to come help us? Is President Trump going to help us once we get him elected? I've been knocking on doors.
He wasn't asking for any help.
I'm like, yeah, you got to have to do that for yourself as a country. That's on you. You got to.
Yeah, no, he wasn't asking for help. He was already saying that they already had people that they were trying to vet to run for office.
This was months ago that I spoke to this one guy.
Oh, maybe I'll send you the person. Maybe this is the same person. I don't know. But anyway, I thought it was motivating through all the chaos and the horror that is lighting a fire for these people to make a change in their countries.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Jennifer, but Judge Tanya Chutkan refuses to block Elon Musk and DOGE from accessing data from 7 federal agencies, even though 14 state attorney generals tried to block. So she said no. So that's a good thing.
Oh, that's good news. That's probably pretty breaking because Julie was on there flipping out. But you guys asked real quick how to impeach a judge. It's two main steps. The House of Representatives must vote to impeach with a simple majority. Then the Senate conducts a trial and requires a 2/3 majority vote to convict and remove the judge from office. And you know how long that's going to take.
And also just to add to what Barbie was talking about, it's called United States Digital Services. It was put in for two purposes. One, to get things better with technology, but it also was to cut waste and fraud, which is a joke. But that is on the books. Also, Clinton and Gore put it in the books where they laid off over 400,000 federal employees. So they could balance the budget. So the precedents are already there. And Elon even made a comment one day on X about it. They know they're working in with the legal rules. But just one more point on Eisen. I'm watching what he did January 6th. Jennifer, after what you said about Benny Thompson, he's doing the exact same process right now with the attorneys going after the executive orders. It is his playbook. And he comes from being Obama's ethics guy, which makes it even more hysterical.
And that's what's driving me.
They put together like a whole new organization, like a whole new civil service. It's called like civil service something. What the heck is my thread on that? Where they put a whole organization together called Civil Service Strong. It was like formed in December of 2024, and it's a coalition of the American Federation of Government Employees, Citizens for Responsible Ethics in Washington, or CREW, Democracy Forward, Government Accountability Project, National Federation of Federal Employees Project on Government Oversight, and State Democracy Defenders Fund. I did a whole thread. It's like pinned on my timeline, where I put out the board of directors who are Mark Elias, Ron Klain, Javier Guzman, the director for Global Health Policy for the Center of Global Development. That should ring a bell. There's like
Ron Klain,
another lady who is used to be a clerk for Royce Lambert, who is like the DC Circuit judge who just blocked the Trump administration from transferring transgender prisoners into male prisons. They're all freaking connected, guys. It's very scary.
And also, guys, if you go out to AmericaMission.com, we have a lot of articles in our Faces of Tyranny series where you can go and learn more about these people because it's so important to remember the name. So go check that out as well.
And then
And
just one more
States
detail.
United for Democracy. That was the one with the NSA directors. Or no, it was DHS. It was DHS directors.
Yes.
That's what it was. Right. And it's three former heads of the DHS is literally chilling on Norm Eisen's board. And that's how they were going after the J6ers. And it's like, what? Like, why can we not stop Norm Eisen? Right? Like, if we can go out there and squash Rudy Giuliani, if we can go out there and squash all these other people that they squashed who we thought were pretty freaking powerful, right? Why can we not do that to Norm Eisen? Why is he allowed to just operate? And there, like, it just seems like everyone that I talk to are like, Jen, he's really powerful. Who gives a shit? He's breaking the law. He puts his pants on the same way you do. What the hell is stopping you?
Friggin' nerd. Anyways, but you guys make a great point, like that you're saying there's new organization. That's the thing. Like, we could lock all these people up and, everything, right? Like, put away the key, and then there's going to be more of them. Like, we got to stay vigilant as a country. It's a constitutional republic if you can keep it. Were key words, and like, you cut off heads of this hydra, new heads are going to grow back. So it's like a never-ending fight of making sure that we stay constitutional and keep this republic.
Well, we also need NGO reform. I forgot what I did a post on this. I don't remember all the points that I listed when I did the research, but we really need NGO reform. They need to start registering foreign funding. If they're getting foreign funding, we need to make it much harder for them to continue to operate in the shadows. Because if we actually had like good reform laws, like for NGOs on the books, they wouldn't be able to be so damn powerful.
You're right.
That's a good question, because here's the thing: where are they
Hold
getting
on, the
their
host
money?
has their hand up. Just 1 second.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to say, like, if they were able to stop Steve Bannon in his tracks in 2020, stop him in his tracks, Why can we not do this to Norm Eisen?
Because we don't operate outside of the law. That's the problem. And I'm not going to advocate that we do. But we always operate within the bounds of the law. And as such, it's really hard to compete with people who are always like operating at, you know, I don't know, it's very hard to out-monster the monster. They are literally like lawless. They have no morals. They have no integrity. Their only allegiance is to power.
And they have endless funds.
Okay, but I get that. I get it, right? And obviously, I'm not advocating for us to do anything illegal, right? But what they taught us is that they don't even give a shit if you spend one day in jail. You realize that. It's the process that is the punishment, right? Where your bank accounts are gone, you have no cell phone, your computers are gone, you can't operate in society, right? Like that's what I'm talking about.
The millions of dollars of attorney's fees that you have to pay just to defend yourself against this BS. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And I don't think that our side has realized that. And maybe they need to wake up and realize that, because all I've heard for 4 years is you can indict a ham sandwich. OK, I have enough on one page to indict Norm Eisen than they had on Steve Bannon the whole time. So is there really nothing we can find to put him in lawyer hell, just like he did to thousands of other MAGA people, including the president of the United States, when we have him nearly dead to rights, like literally committing treason against the United States?
I think Pam Bondi's got her finger on the trigger, just waiting for cash confirmation. Let's
figurative trigger.
Yeah, figurative.
I do think that when cash gets confirmed,
Jennifer, just real quick, I think we need to understand we're paying for this, by the way. What they're doing to us, what they did to the J-Stickers, what they did to Jennifer, everyone. We paid with our tax dollars. You have to understand these NGOs, they just have to, if they get $1 million, they only have to spend 5%. They throw it up on what they call overhead. Overhead, guys. That means that money, then they subcontract it out and you start losing it because now it's in another country. It's fungible. It's like laundered money and people are making a lot of money and it's coming back to the US. And there's deep pockets here taking it, but it's our freaking tax dollar. I agree with Barbie. We need severe laws around NGOs. They are out of control. They've been operating in the shadows. I have found so many subcontractors that have made billions and billions and billions of dollars. I had friends overseas from a military family where they were helping out and they saw USAID, couldn't find food, couldn't find medicine. It was a bunch of wacky what do you call those, tricold folders, talking about DEI and all this other BS. They're using our tax dollars against us, and they're trying to disrupt all these countries, because when you disrupt all these fringe groups, it's easy to come in and take power because people are unhappy. They're protesting. Now they're getting in the streets and now they're moving into other things. They tried that here. They tried that here on the college universities. We paid for it.
Okay, so guys, I've been going at this for almost 4 hours now, and I'm like getting a little weary. I need to take a break from this space. So I want to shut it down here, but I do want to get to everybody's hands. Thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate y'all. Miss Lou, go, and then we'll go to Magna.
You know, Jen, I'm really quick, and Barbie is right. The NGOs are a problem, but at the end of the day, the real problem we have in our government is Republicans. They are all on the take. They are completely cowardly. They have given Schumer and Jeffries everything they want. And now we're heading into a CR that is going to be Biden's budget all the way to the end of 2025. Okay, we're still at a 2.5 to 3 trillion deficit all the way to the end of 25. And
I thought that CR ended in March.
Well, the CR ends in March, but they're going to kick the can all the way to the end of the year. That's the talk I'm hearing. Is that, you know, what do they want to call it, an omnibus? What do they want to call it? Whatever they call it. Yes, the government runs out of money at the end of March, but I don't think the CR ends in March. I think there is an extension of this. They want to see a whole year out. And like I said, it's Biden's budget.
I just had a realization, and sorry, Miss Lou, I was paying attention to what you were saying, but it just clicked in my head. That guy that came in before, right? They are using the military, right, to come out with first of all, they always are like, oh well, I'm a contractor, or I was in the military and I did this and da 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 da. But it's obviously like they're trying to distract, but they do that because people won't speak up against, like, they're afraid to like offend the military person or to like stop them or question them on what they're saying. Right. And I just want to point that out for the room, right? If someone comes in with a commanding voice and like don't be afraid to question people no matter like who they are or what they are, right? Like don't let people hide behind shit they should not be hiding behind. Alpha, I saw your hand fly up. I'll let you go.
Yeah, you guys tagged on the military, so I had to jump in. I've been enjoying the hell out of this conversation, just so you know. I just want everybody to also recognize something. Contractors doesn't always necessarily mean veteran. Just because you're a contractor doesn't mean that you actually served in the military. It means you may have worked alongside us. That's possible. It means that you could have been a veteran that went contractor, but just don't automatically assume when someone says that they're a contractor that they're prior U.S. military, because that's not always the case. Also, contractor is a very broad term. It means you could have been installing electrical boxes on a base, or it means that you could have been part of maybe some tactical covert team. So just recognize that a lot of people try to use the words to gain your confidence and to gain your trust, but it may not always be that. So I like seeing you guys fire back.
Thanks, Alpha. I appreciate you. All right, Magna, jump in here.
Hello, my beautiful peoples. It's so good to see all my American mission. Beautiful, wonderful. God, I love you all. What a wonderful conversation. Thank you all. Please throw up some love for Jennifer and the group for throwing this little shindig. And what a fantastic conversation it's been. I've been listening for some time, and I thought I'd step up here and give my appreciation. Y'all know how much love I have for you. This subject is so important to us. We have to keep our eyes on the prize, and we have to keep moving. And if I can help in any way, of course, I'm gonna throw that out there. So if anybody needs me, y'all just give me a yell. I've been pursuing a lot of my AI work, but I still have my first love was always American Mission here on X and on Spaces. And Jen and Dustin were the first two people I ever met when I started talking politics. And then I came along, I'm in Alpha, and I met so many nice folks in here, and Adam's been so kind to me on X. And love you all. Seek out other folks. Please keep letting them know. Just because we're not in a politics season doesn't mean we don't need more and more and more people. We have to pile it on so that everybody gets the word out. Lots of love. I will stop there and land my Chinese spy balloon. Jennifer, you know how much you got my heart, baby. Talk to y'all soon.
Thanks, Magna. I appreciate you. Always appreciate you being here, and hope you're feeling well and everything is good with you. Okay, is there anybody else? Any hands? Rose, did you have your hand up?
Rose, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yay. Yes, it was a great space. I'm feeling a little resentful that you never played my clip. Staying on the Norm Eisen thing. But the conversation kind of went ahead. So I guess I'll forgive. But
oh, you're so gracious. Thank you.
Because real quick. It was such a good one. I was so anxious for everybody to hear it. But
I'm sorry,
anyway.
Rose, share it in the space so everybody can play. It's seriously
no.
4
We
hours
have been at it for
point,
hours now.
And I'm already burnt out on Norm Eisen to begin with, right? Like for 4 years that I was like, yes, Kim, I will hold the Manic Monday space and invite Barbie to come talk Norm Eisen, but like it's 4 hours, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought it was a great discussion. A lot of new theories, a lot of things to think about. And thanks for everybody popping in. Thank you, Insurrection. I have great respect for you. And JackTron, Adam, always in the background doing their thing. Alpha, you're awesome. Sally, Southern. It's just great people that popped in. It was super. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Jen. Love what you do. Love being a part of the team. We're going to get them. So hang in there, everybody. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but look where we are right now. God will win. the law will win, right? It's won on our side so far, and I believe that it will continue. And it's going to take a little time for the action to begin. You got to get cash in there. They can't do those investigations without trash. So
that's when the skull cracking comes in.
Oh my God, trash and cash. What a combo. It's like tango
trash and cash.
Oh my God, let's do it.
Continued prayers for Trash as he's recovering from a very serious incident in health. And it's going to take some time for him to come back full power. And so really keep him in your prayers. It's a big thing.
I'm not gonna lie though. I am gonna enjoy the mellow trash like that. I'm looking forward to that.
No, yeah. Well, I think that's going to be with us for a little bit, but I know really, but I listen. He's talking. Thank God for that, right? So I'm happy for it. And he did add some extra names that we always tend to forget, right? And that's always good.
All right.
Right. Love you, Jennifer. Go have dinner.
Thank you, guys.
Give some love to your
Insurrection
hugs.
Barbie. Thanks, guys. Insurrection Barbie, thank you so much for joining us and sharing out the Norm Eisen stuff. Appreciate you. You're welcome anytime. If you need American Mission's help with anything, let us know.
Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure.
Hey guys, the Marine Corps is on track to hit their 2025 recruiting targets. We are winning.
My favorite branch. That's good to hear. Good to hear.
Well, it was great to see everybody. Appreciate all of you. And Jen, I'm so glad that you're back because we're back.
Okay,
baby.
let's not get ourselves excited here. We needed to talk about
whatever. You run the best spaces. You know it. I don't know why you're not flexing because
I'm not that person.
All this Love Fest is not like us. All this Love Fest is really not like us. So, we got to get our steely eyes going again.
Yeah, it's getting fake and gay in here. Come on, guys. Let's wrap it up.
All right. Love you guys.
Hey, guys. 2026 is around the corner.
Y'all need Jesus. Find Jesus.
Reach out to your
Before you guys kick off, real quick, Southern. I just want to make sure my hand was up for a minute. I just want to say thank you, Jennifer, and everyone for this. Was really great space. I listened for most of the time. It was very well structured with the clips. They were very clear to hear, and they were very interesting. It was very well put together. And I just wanted to give you guys all props for everything that you did today. And I just want to make that quick and say thank you.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Well, we couldn't do it without all of you and everybody's support all the time and all of our listeners down there and the people who comment. We see you. Really appreciate your support and sharing the space out. And follow what American Mission's doing, and we'll be putting out more stuff. And if you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out. Love you guys. Bye.
Reach out to your senators for cash for tomorrow. Reach out to your senators. Thank you.